Right, lad. Sit on the other side.
The blast at Trent Bridge is so much more than cricket. But what is it? It's not about laws. It's about high scores. Stumps uprooted. The tunes. The roars. Forget the history. We make the history. It's not about afternoon tea. That's a bit of me. So forget the jargon, follow the marching, rumbling, beating heart of a city as it crosses the bridge from the old to the bold. Because we're not gentlemen, you see, we're outlaws. The blast at Trent Bridge, more than a game.
Good afternoon everybody and a warm welcome to Trent Bridge Live and to Vitality Blast Action, and for the final time in the group stages of this year's campaign, should I say. And really after 13 games it all comes down to this. It is a must-win game for the Outlaws. The Leicestershire Foxes are in town. Samit Patel is in town. Samit, I've just said there, it's a must-win game. We win and we get a quarter-final place. How are you feeling? How do you think the boys are feeling right now?
No, I'm sure there'll be a bit of apprehension about, but I think that the chat after the game on Friday, I was up there and it was pretty positive. I think that we know exactly what we need to do. Every game's a knockout now, and we all spoke about winning the trophy, and I think that's really, really good. We've got some big players in that dressing room with a lot of experience. We've got a lot of people not playing that also have a lot of experience, but it's going to be exciting today. This is where Alex Hales turns up. Must-win games. I know it's not on television, but Hales for me, that little partnership, Hales and Clark up top, we get some momentum, we take that into the bowling, and hopefully we should be good.
Well, Summit's pretty much given away what's happened at the toss there, to be honest. The toss has taken place and the Outlaws won that toss, and Alex Hales elected to bat. We'll talk about why Alex Hales was at the toss very, very shortly. But just to let you know something that's happening this weekend. This weekend, we join the ECB and the wider game in marking the Rainbow Laces campaign in support of LGBTQ+ inclusion in sport. Here at Trent Bridge, players will wear rainbow laces for today's match, and there are also rainbow motifs on the stumps. And if you're a regular viewer of Trent Bridge Live, you'll notice that our logo has changed as well. Now, we've just said about the toss. Alex Hales is the captain today. We'll talk about the 11 very, very shortly. But winning the toss and electing to bat, do you think that's down to potentially, obviously it's the second game in 3 days on that pitch, you've had a look at the pitch, I've had a look at the pitch, just views on obviously electing to bat first?
Yeah, no, in a pressure game you want to get runs on the board. Leicester are very, very dangerous. They've done the number on us a few years, but going back on that pitch, it's a used pitch, we've played on it before, we know exactly how it's going to play. We're going to use home advantage, we've got 3 spinners playing. It's really, really exciting. I think that the pitch may play better than expected, but as again I said, we've said it's used, and we know we've got the know-how how to play.
Okay, well let's inform you of your Outlaws selected 11 for this fixture. He is the John Pye Player of the Month for June. It is Joe Clark. He takes the captain's armband for today's game. Samit Patel says it's his day. It is Alex Hales. He came in at number 3 on Friday night, 4 4s and 1 6 for Lyndon James. He's played every game so far in this year's T20 Blast. He has number 14 on his back. It's Matthew Montgomery. Hasib Hamid comes into the team today. He wears number 99. It's Hasib Hamid. He takes the gloves, but he's scored an important 73 runs against the Bears on Friday night. It's Tom Moores. He's already won this trophy with the Outlaws just a few years ago. He'll be very important with the ball. It's Imad Wasim. Well, what about this man if he was watching on Friday night? 4 wickets in his first over on Friday night. It's Shaheen Shah Afridi. Calvin Harrison comes into the side. He's another fellow spinner. He's in place of Ollie Stone. 31 on his back, Calvin Harrison. He has best figures of 3 for 26 this campaign. It's Matt Carter. 3 wickets on Friday night for the Welbeck Wizard. He makes up your 11. It is Jake Ball. That is your Nottinghamshire Outlaws selected 11 for this fixture against the Leicestershire Foxes. Samit, you mentioned earlier that obviously we've got some experience missing. Stephen Mullaney misses out unfortunately today with a little bit of an injury. Hasib Hamid comes into the team. Calvin Harrison obviously comes into the team in replace of Ollie Stone as well. Just talk us through what Hass will be thinking, and also what the captain, missing the captain is a big thing in any game, but especially potentially this one.
Absolutely, huge miss, bat and ball, proven record as Mull. He's going to be devastated not playing today, especially in a crunch game as I am. But the experience that we have, we're lucky that we've got Hasib and Calvin coming in to replace Stoney and Mull. We should be okay. I think we've got the experience. Like I said before, hopefully we get a good start. I think it's Hales' day today. Hopefully I'm not going to put the commentators' mockers on him, but I think Hales in a big game. We know well he plays in a big game. He's hopefully going to turn it on, and he's got the extra responsibility of captaincy today, which may just even spread him on a little bit more.
It sometimes happens, doesn't it? That obviously in these times when you're missing people, Hales becomes captain today, that they step up and you get something extra out of them today. We always look at the negatives of people missing out. Yourself, obviously, Luke Fletcher, we can go on. But it's occasions like today where somebody steps up. You're putting your money on Alex Hales, but anyone in that 11 can step up and say, you know what, I'm going to win this game for the Outlaws.
Absolutely. You look at Joe Clark's record this T20 campaign, he's been outstanding. Get us off to a fire with Alex Hales again. But we're looking at those two top to fire. For cameos coming through the order, we've got Montgomery that's hitting them okay at the minute, we've got Lyndon James who's young, they're both young. That little period of Tom Moore's, it was really pleasing the other night that he went on to get a considerable score. And that's going to do a world of confidence to Tom. He's going to be a word of good, knowing the fact that he can hit sixes on that pitch that we're playing again tonight. If we can get Tommy into the right situation, I think it could be very, very dangerous to take the game away. He scores at a good rate, so it's going to be good. And then we know we've got the experienced back end, Imad, Shaheen, to try and clear the ropes as well going forward. But from a bowling point of view, Shaheen was fantastic the other night. He really was. Pace, swing, just aggressive, just the way he went about his business the other night was so pleasing. And we always spoke after the game that we're always looking for perfections. But from that first over onwards, it was disappointing to lose that game. And we know that. But hopefully today is definitely a different day. So let's hope we can get some more out of him.
You talked about Joe Clark and Alex Hales. Just to remind you that the Outlaws won the toss and have elected to bat, so both Joe Clark and Alex Hales will be making their way down the pavilion steps very, very shortly. Just look at the runs from the top three and you'll see that Joe Clark sits at the top of that, Alex Hales in third as well. You've mentioned about getting off to a good start, but also I just want to talk from a batting point of view about the combination of left hand, right hand. Obviously we've talked about the team, but it's flexible. Tom Moore's, you said, scored 73 here, and this short boundary, on the Fox Road side, that team is flexible, and we could see anybody kind of move up and down the order. Absolutely, we've got Shaheen and Imad, both left-handers. There may be a case if they're playing double spin in the middle there, Shaheen may go up top ahead of Imad and try and get some impetus back if we need it. We are very flexible, we have got the experience, which holds us in good stead, to be honest. And in a crunch match, batting first is always relieving a bit of pressure, runs on the board, Leicester have got nothing to play for, but they always like to do a bit of a bogey for us. So I think that there's nothing better than beating Leicester in Derby. They're Derby games, so for a reason. If you look at that Leicester team, they've got some good players as well. It never are for a team, but I think that if we play really well, they shouldn't get anywhere near. If we just take a look at the table, you will see why it is a must-win game for the Outlaws. Obviously, the Birmingham Bears have qualified. They're on the top there, but not sit in fourth. It's really, really tight. It's always been tight all the way through, hasn't it? It's been a really tight group. But how just nice is it to know we win and we've qualified? Nothing else matters. You don't have to look at any other results. It's just our game, what happens here in the next couple of minutes. Absolutely. It's brilliant that we can take control of our own destiny, really. We spoke in the dressing room the other night. 4 wins now is what it's going to require to lift that trophy, and that's, from the outset, that's been our mindset. Regardless of how we do it, going away, staying at home, it doesn't really matter, but 4 wins out of 4 is what's going to make good teams great teams. Obviously, from Leicester's point of view, you say they've got nothing to play for, but it's pride, it's a local derby, they'll be wanting to stop us from qualifying, simply. Absolutely, they won't want to come here and lose. Pride is what we'd be doing if we were in their situation. But as I said before, we've got big match players in our dressing room that want to play in big games, and this is one of the biggest. And I think that every one of those 11 that are lucky to go out there and put the stag on the chest is going to be wanting to be a match winner, and that's the message that comes from me and obviously the management upstairs from Friday night is wanting to be a match winner for this club going forward. Final predictions are about to make their way out. What do you think is a good score? Looking at that pitch, I think we'd be comfortable with 180. If we get 180 on there, it's a working total, and we'd luckily go and hopefully defend it. Scoreboard pressure. Absolutely, we talk about crunch game. For us, we don't want to be chasing, so hence that's why we're batting first. It's a used pitch, we're playing 3 spin, we've got the experience. Right, well, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see about your prediction of Alex Hales at the halfway stage, but we'll hand you over to your match coverage, and that will be from your BBC commentary team.
It was incredible stuff, but despite those early fireworks, Friday ended in defeat, so Notts will be looking to Afridi and co to do it all again today to make sure of that top 4 place, and they could even finish second and get a home quarter-final. Here are the scenarios. Notts come into the game 4th, with Birmingham qualified, Lancashire and Worcestershire in 2nd and 3rd, taking on the sides trying to sneak into the top 4, Northamptonshire and Derbyshire. So a Notts win means they're definitely in the quarter-finals. A Notts win, Lancashire defeat and Worcestershire defeat means it's 2nd place for the Outlaws and a home quarter-final. Defeat for Notts today, combined with a win for either Derby or Northants, means an exit from the competition. Much to play for then, and the players are just starting to make their way out. Those players that are making their way out at the moment, trudging down the steps from the pavilion and out onto the outfield, are the Leicestershire fielders, because Nottinghamshire have won the toss and they've decided to bat. So the opening 2 batsmen just at the top of the steps at the moment and making their way out under cloudy skies, but as I say, not threatening skies today here at Trent Bridge. You're listening to BBC Radio Nottingham, and commentary begins with the former Notts and Warwickshire player Kyle van Vollenhoven and Dave Bracegirdle.
Thank you, Colin. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to cloudy Trent Bridge as the lime green kitted Leicestershire Foxes make their way out to the middle, following our 2 umpires, Richard Kettleborough and Ben Peverell, and the 2 Nottinghamshire opening batters follow them, Joe Clarke and Alex Hales. But he's not just Alex Hales this afternoon, he's Alex Hales, Outlaws captain, the 11th different player to captain the Outlaws. Stephen Mullaney, with a slight side strain, misses out against the side that he had a really good match against a couple of weeks ago at Grace Road. Took 3 for 18 Mullaney and effectively swung the contest the Outlaws' way. Notts, as Colin was saying there, just need to win and they're through to the quarter-finals, and then we'll have a look and see what else happens up and down the country to see if they can improve on their 4th place. Very much looking forward to this, as I'm sure Kyle van Vollenhoven is alongside me. Very good afternoon, Kyle.
Good afternoon, Dave. Good afternoon to all our listeners on what is going to be a very, very good Sunday afternoon.
Well, let's hope so. Callum Parkinson's going to open the bowling. He has history against Alex Hales. He bowled him at Grace Road. He bowled him here in that epic quarter-final in 2020, which resulted in a tie, but Notts won on countback. And he's had another couple of successes against Alex Hales, so no wonder the tried and trusted formula of Joe Clarke opening the batting is, or facing the first ball, is going to continue. I'm sure the Foxes would like to see Parkinson bowling at Hales before too long. We're about to get underway. 4th placed Outlaws against bottom of the table Leicestershire Foxes, and the first ball from this Radcliffe Road end finds the outside edge and is also going to find the boundary. We saw quite a lot of this from the Foxes at Grace Road, some shocking catching and fielding. I think that's Rishi Patel, the first one to be named, dived there at short third and it's gone away from him for 4, and it's shocking. They just really wish they could play Durham and only Durham in this group, because they've only won 2 matches and that was Durham home and away.
Exactly, not the start that they would have liked. Smithfield goes away for 4. It's really nicely bowled by Parkinson and deserved better than he got there.
So Joe Clarke up and running. This one down the leg side, would have presumed been a leg side wide. You can never be absolutely certain in this year's competition. The umpires seem to have a very different interpretation depending on who's standing, but Clarke in any case just got a bit of bat on it, but there's no run. 4 without loss, with a big W at the end of the afternoon, all really that Notts are looking for. This one's pushed to wideish mid-off and there's no run. There are 2 changes to the Notts side. Stephen Mullaney, as you've heard, not playing because Ollie Stone, we've not had an update from him. He was removed from the attack and from the field with a bit of a precaution after just 3 balls on Friday evening, as the 4th delivery of the match is just worked to mid-wicket by Clarke. He'll get a single. That will bring Hales down on to strike. So Asiba Mead comes in for only his 2nd T20 match. He played at New Road recently. Nice to see Asiba Mead getting another go, and Calvin Harrison's back in the side. So Mullaney and Stone out. This one is punched past the bowler, but can't get it beyond Colin Ackerman at mid-off, and it remains 5 without loss.
Does indeed. It's going to be nice to see or interesting to see rather, how Notts are going to cope without Mr. Experience.
Parkinson in again, and Hales goes big, and this might be all the way. They're just going to check on that, and the arms are raised aloft, and there is significance in that blow from Alex Hales. In fact, it's Joe Clark. No, it is Alex Hales who's hit the 6 away there, because that is his 183rd 6 in T20 domestic cricket, and that stands him out alone at the top of the table. He's gone one clear of Luke Wright. He's been on 182 since the Derbyshire game around about 4 weeks ago now, but that is a fine way to get off the mark, a record-breaking hit, and the board very quickly turned to Joe Clark being on strikes. I just wondered for a split second if I'd called it wrong, but no, it's Hales. It's 11 without loss after 1 over.
What a glorious way to break the record and become the highest 6 hitter of all time. Beautiful shot by Alex Hales.
Tell you what, he's damaged the ball as well. I've got to fetch the suitcase and fetch a new ball.
We see that quite a lot nowadays, don't we? Ball disappears, umpire not happy with it, need a new ball. Tell you what, they must have gone through a lot of balls this season, Dave. Must indeed. It's going to be Michael Finan eventually when they do get one to play with out of the suitcase. You were alongside me at Grace Road for the match 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Leicestershire were awful, weren't they, in the first few overs there? They dropped a couple of catches. There were at least 3 that should have been stopped that went to the boundary, and already in that first over we saw a small sample size of just how poor they are in the field. Correct. They started poorly. 2 big drop catches. I think they dropped Joe Clark and Colin Munro quite early, and it was bizarre because the umpire also got hits in that game, and there was a lot that happened. And you would have thought that coming into a game like this, you want to finish the competition well. They haven't been great so far. They'd want to be really on it, and then first ball of the game in midfield that goes for 4. It's Michael Finan then from the pavilion end, left arm quick and wide, and very wide, so ill-disciplined there. Finan doesn't like it. We most remember him from Grace Road. I think did he get 3 if not 4 catches in the deep? He did. He caught well out of deep mid-wicket, I think it was. I think he did drop a catch though at the beginning. I think he was one of the guilty parties, unfortunately, Dave. So this over's got to restart. Notts 12 without loss. Alex Hales winning the toss, opting to bat first. Finan in and bowls, and Clark clips it crisply along the ground to deep mid-wicket. There's a couple of runs. Takes Notts on to 14. Big afternoon of cricket. There are 8 matches in the T20 Blast, 4 in the North Group, 4 in the South Group. The Test match goes on. I'm sure many of you cricket lovers have been following the antics and the activities and the unusual from Lords this morning. England still with a sniff of chasing it down in that one, and of course Grace Ballinger and the Blaze and the women back in action this afternoon. There's a nick and there's a catch, and Finan has got Joe Clark. He's been caught behind by Peter Anscombe, reaching away from his body, and he's nicked it through to the keeper. And again the Outlaws see one of their openers trudge off back very early on. This time it's Clark. He's gone for 7. Well, this one from Finan was pushed out a little bit wide. Joe Clark threw his hands at it, and Peter Anscombe, in all honesty, has taken a very nice catch diving to his right hand side. The Outlaws have lost their first wicket. Not the most ideal start that they would have been looking for, having won the toss and electing to bat. They are 14 for 1 now. Leicestershire. Peter Anscombe is the captain and the wicket keeper. Vian Mulder, Rishi Patel, Colin Ackerman, Nick Welsh, Louis Kimber, who used to be on the Notts Academy, Lewis Hill, Tom Scriven, Michael Finan, Callum Parkinson, who we've seen bowling, and Roman Walker. And Lyndon James coming out at 3 for Notts, who will then follow with Matt Montgomery, Tom Moores, who played really nicely on Friday evening after being dropped early on, Calvin Harrison, Asiba Mead, Imad Wasim, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Matt Carter and Jake Ball. 14 for 1 the Outlaws, as Lyndon James, who scored 37 on Friday evening, his highest score to date in T20 cricket, comes to the crease for the 9th ball of the contest with Notts 14 for 1. So it's going to be Finan to bowl. Notts in their gold and green, the Foxes in all green, and chopped to backward point by Lyndon James This is nicely fielded by Louis Kimber. I did see Lyndon James, particularly early on in his innings, hitting the ball very, very hard indeed on Friday evening, and one mighty blow that left his bat disappeared. I think it went for a drink in the Larwood and Vos Public House. It certainly cleared the stand with plenty to spare.
Nearly ended up in my living room, Dave.
A huge blow. It's Finan in, bowls, and Lyndon James takes his top hand off the bat, and this is pushed up to Ackerman at mid-off, and there's no run.
Been a nice start from Finan. Besides the wide first ball to Joe Clark, he's bowled a very nice length here. Made the batters have to really work hard to get any sort of rhythm in this second over of the game. Very, very, very good start.
And he comes again. Finan and bowls, and James just not quite found his timing yet. Just bottom edges this out onto the offside. There's no run. These two sides neck and neck in terms of wins over the duration of the T20 Blast competition. Not 17 wins. Leicestershire Foxes 17 wins. One of those Notts wins, though, was, I suppose technically you'd call it a tie. That was in 2020, the quarter-final match here that Notts went through to finals day by virtue of more runs scored in the power play. Finan bowls, hit away this time by Lyndon James for 4. Nice to get one off the bat, and away gets him up and running. And Notts are 18 for 1 at the end of the second over. Finan with the wicket, and Joe Clark stretching away from his body nicked it behind. Simple catch for Peter Hanscom. He made 7. That was 14 for 1. It's now 18 for 1 at the end of the over.
Nice shot by Lyndon James. Once again quite wide from Finan, and Lyndon James has found his timing in that instance, and that's flown away. Lovely shot, much needed boundary, just to break a bit of the shackles that Finan was starting to build for the Foxes, as Roman Walker is the new bowler from the Radcliffe Road side.
Second season with the Foxes, the former Glamorgan player, Roman Walker. Going to bowl the third over. And Alex Hales on strike. Hales has had a real dip in form in recent matches. 0-5, 0 and 4 his last 4 games, so that blow for 6 that got him off the mark has at least got him beyond anything he's achieved in his last 4 matches. Roman Walker, right arm, medium fast, bowls a delivery which just jagged back into Hales, and he's worked it out into the deep to Louis Kimber, and he'll come back for a couple. Crowd applauding. I would say all facets of that, the shot, the running, and a nice bit of fielding as well by Kimber.
Good cricket all round.
Yeah.
Really nice. What would you say about the crowd today, Dave?
Here's Roman Walker bowling to Hales, cut away. This will be 4.
Top shot.
Just gave himself a little bit of room, just slightly leaned back towards the square leg umpire and lifted it up and over point and away, knowing there was nobody there. On Friday night it was about 10,500, I think, and it was difficult to tell because people, due to the sporadic flurries of drizzle, were forever on the move. They were not always in their seats. They were either in the concourse or making their way in and out of the ground. Walker bowls, Hales a play and a miss through to Hanscom. But I would say it's getting on for something of that order, 9,000 or 10,000.
Fox Road and Larwood and Vos stand always busy. Bit more in the Smith Cooper stand this afternoon than on a usual Friday evening, so it's nice to see the Trent Bridge faithful coming out to support the Outlaws on what promises to be a good day.
Walker to Alex Hales, and he's beaten for pace there outside the off stump. Varied it nicely here in this over, Roman Walker, and Hales a little late on the shot. He's gone into this game just averaging 25 in this year's competition. Got 350s in a row towards the start of it, but lean pickings since then. He'll look just to try and find a little bit of form here and hopefully Notts will go into the knockout stages, and Hales can take that form with him. He's on 12. Faces now and just backs into this one and works it again into the deep out to Louis Kimber, and there'll be 2 more, and then Outlaws go to 26 for 1.
Alex Hales just giving himself quite a bit of room, looking to access the offside, which is the shorter side of the ground this afternoon, and Roman Walker just following him and nudged nicely out into deep mid-wicket. Louis Kimber once again doing the fielding.
There's Walker then to conclude his opening over, cut away by Hales to backward point, nicely stopped by Rishi Patel, but they go through for a single. Not sure there should have been a run there, but they do take one, so Hales will keep strike, and it's 27 for 1 after 3. Alex Hales skippering Notts for the first time in his career at any level, and it becomes the 11th different player to captain Notts Outlaws in T20 cricket. One of the previous 10, James Taylor, who actually, by the way, is here. He's in joint charge of this Foxes side, along with the former Somerset bowler Alfonso Thomas. You may remember after Notts went to Grace Road 2 or 3 weeks ago, all hell broke loose the following day. 3 players announced they were leaving at the end of the season, and their head coach Paul Nixon was put on gardening leave. So there's changes afoot at Grace Road. Meanwhile, Mikey Finan's going to get a second over, the 4th of the innings. The 2 men out are both on the leg side. Favoured area for Hales, so he goes on the offside, and this will bounce just inside the rope and away for 4. Hales, it would seem, has got a start here, and let's just see if he can push on.
Well, that is again vintage Alex Hales. Beautiful cricket shot. Up and over, extra cover, 1 bounce, 4. Really lovely cricket shot.
I know Colin's been keeping up to speed with the test match. I think another delivery, and I think for everybody's benefit we perhaps ought to just get a little bit of news of what's happening at Lords after this next delivery. Ben Duckett out for 83 this morning, in so doing he passed 1,000 runs in Test cricket. Congratulations to him. The 5th quickest in just 12 matches, I understand, as Finan bowls again to Hales, and a push and run to mid-off. Should get home, a shy at the stumps. It's good fielding there by Colin Ackerman. Demolishes the sticks, but the umpire says he's home. So Hales nice and safe on 20. It's 32 for 1. What have you got, Colin?
Yeah, I was going to say, while they replace the stumps, should give me plenty of time, shouldn't it? So England still going along nicely. Ben Stokes, Stuart Broad still going for England. They've not lost a wicket since lunch. 292 for 6, which means they need 79 more. Stokes has 148. And Stuart Broad is very much playing the support role. He's got 10, and it's been all happening throughout Lords throughout the morning, and England very much still in with a chance.
There's Mikey Finan round the wicket, bowls down the track comes Lyndon James. Good Yorker from Finan. I think he saw Lyndon James coming at him and speared it into the pads. They take a leg by. Yes, we don't want to lose you drifting off to follow the action from Lords, but I think there's plenty of cricket fans who just like to keep tabs on what's happening in both games here, so as and when any relevant news from around the country, and obviously we'll be focusing on what's happening here, but also the test match at Lords.
That partnership is worth 99 between Broad and Stokes, and Broad's got 10.
33 for 1. He's playing the Jack Leach role. Hales on 20, on strike, down the leg side, taken by Hanscom, and the umpire stretches his arms out and gives Notts another one, Kyle.
I think Finan has got away with one there. Fine leg and square leg are up in the ring, and he has bowled a slower ball that's gone down leg side. If Alex Hales has got any sort of bat on that, that's 4. Or if he's got a lot of bat on it, it's probably 6. So he can breathe a sigh of relief that he got away with a wide there.
Next delivery on its way now, and Hales will pull this to square leg. There's no run. Our umpires, by the way, one of the most experienced and one of the most inexperienced. We've got Richard Kettleborough, who's umpired, well, more test matches than most of us have had hot dinners. He's at the standing end, at the pavilion end, and at square leg, umpiring just his 2nd T20 game. 31-year-old Ben Peverell didn't play first-class cricket. He's from Bristol, worked his way up. through the umpiring ranks, getting all the necessary qualifications as Hales does go big on the leg side, and Kyle van Vollenhoven is already pointing to the ceiling of our commentary box as he knew the second that had left the bat, the crispness of it, the timing of it, that was going to sail away for 6.
And so it did. Lovely shot once again. Fine, and just drifting onto Alex Hales' pads. Don't do that. That's a lovely shot. Gone for half a dozen, and Alex Hales seems to have found some rhythm. Touch wood, this continues.
He's under 26, 40 for 1. Here comes Finan again. Don't bowl there. Well, he bowls full and he's hit into the offside, and Hales has gone. He's hit it straight to extra cover. Hales throws his bat down on the ground in disgust. Not exactly captaincy behaviour, but Hales has gone. It's 40 for 2, and Finan gets his man. It's Tom Scriven with a fairly routine catch at extra cover. Hales just hit it straight to him, a wide full toss.
Alex Hales, he could have hit that anywhere. He really could have a low, wide full toss, as Davis said, and cover on the ring has not had to move a centimetre. He takes a low catch, very simple catch, and Alex Hales showed a lot of promise, but unfortunately he's got to go, not lose their second. Matthew Montgomery now strides to the crease.
Yeah, that's a blow. Both Clark and Hales have gone. So the 14 group matches, top opening partnership 58, which they funnily enough they made 3 times early on when they were giving Notts some sort of stability at the top of the order. 3 times they put 58 on, but in the last half a dozen matches, one or other or both have departed very early on, and relatively speaking that's the case today. We've had 4 overs, the Outlaws going along at 10 and over, but they've lost their openers. 40 for 2 after 4 overs, and Finan's got figures of 2 for 19. Roman Walker to bowl the 5th. His first over went for 9. The new man is Matthew Montgomery. This one into the pads of Lyndon James, and they go through for a single. No signal from the umpire, so he must have got a bit of bat on it.
I didn't think Lyndon got any bats on that. I just thought it was sliding down the leg side. Pete Hanscom was a little bit interested, but the only one on the in the Foxes camp that even appealed. So yes, Lyndon gets 1 to his total, and Matthew Montgomery is going to face his first ball here.
41 for 2. Montgomery with just 1/2 century to his name in the competition, and a play and a miss there. There's just that extra little bit of bounce there from Roman Walker. He's varying his speed nicely, and I think that was the effort ball. Got up shoulder height, nothing wrong with that delivery, and Montgomery was just caught on the back foot, both literally and figuratively. 41 for 2. Montgomery averaging just under 20 in this season's competition, 236 runs, drives into the offside. Nothing doing there. A couple of precious dot balls here in the power play for Leicestershire Foxes.
I think the Foxes have had a reasonable power play so far. 2 big wickets of Alex Hales and Joe Clark. Those 2 can do serious damage if they do get going. I felt Joe Clark, again, 2 soft dismissals, you would have thought.
Walker bowled him. Montgomery backing away. 2 of his stumps have imploded, sent tumbling out of the ground. And 41 for 3, and another brief stay at the crease for Matthew Montgomery. And Ronan Walker, who's pulled very nicely here, has his first wicket, and Notts 41 for 3. I always worry about sides that lose 3 wickets in the power play, and Notts have done exactly that once again.
Well, I was just saying that the Foxes have bowled really nicely so far, and it's continued. Matthew Montgomery has given himself a bit too much room here, and Roman Walker has made a real mess of his stumps, and well, they're in a little bit of trouble here. 41 for 3. Hamid and Lyndon James will be looking to rebuild here, but give credit where credit's due. The Foxes deserve these 3 wickets so far.
Just the second T20 match for Asib Hamid. This is his home debut. Scored 18 at New Road when we went there just over a week ago. comes in at number 5. That was the spot that Tom Moores batted at on Friday evening and did particularly well. So still Moores to come, but Leicestershire getting through this. Outlaws top order. Calvin Harrison, Imad Wazeem, Shaheen Shah Afridi, all still to come, but these are the 2 last recognised batters, you would say, as Hamid just fends his first ball almost off his throat down onto the leg side, and there's no run.
Cool, calm heads need to prevail here, you would have thought, in an Outlaws, for the Outlaws perspective. Hamid is one of those that come to mind straight away when you talk about cool, calm and collected, Dave.
Does have good memories of white ball runs against the Foxes. He's on strike now and will get his first run. Made an unbeaten 99 at Grace Road last year in the Royal London One Day Cup. Just lost the strike in the last over. Lost the opportunity of getting a century, but he's got a run here, so he's off the mark. A first run for him, but Roman Walker with a wicket in that over. Notts have lost. Joe Clark caught behind of Finan for 7. Alex Hales driving to cover off Finan for 26, and Matthew Montgomery, who's another one who's in a lean bit of form, bowled by Ronan Walker without scoring. It's 42 for 3 after 5. More from Carl van Vollenhoven, and then to pick up commentary, it'll be Colin Frey.
Well, the Foxes have really put a squeeze on. That was a fantastic over by Roman Walker. Wicket and only 2 runs, so very, very good start for him. Parkinson to continue here to Hamid.
Yep, Callum Parkinson on from the pavilion end, and Hamid just turns this one off his hip to square leg. It's a shy at the stumps, the non-striker's end, as Hamid is getting home, and he did get home and it missed anyway, so it's a single for Hazeeb Hamid. Just keeping an eye on the other scores in the North Group as well in the early stages of the games, as Parkinson is in again to bowl to Lyndon James, and he's cut this away square on the offside, and it beats the fielder and runs away then for 4. A nice shot from Lyndon James, and a big swing at it, and it only just evaded the diving fielder on the ring, but once it had, it fair raced away to the boundary.
Just runs away here at Trent Bridge. Such a rapid outfield, and Lyndon James gets a nice boundary there. The fielder at backward points seems in a little bit of discomfort.
Yeah, I wonder if he just fell awkwardly. I think it's Finan, as he's racing in to get to this one as well, which is just nudged square of the wicket again, just behind square in the end. It was Finan as they scamper through for a single.
It can be quite sore, Colin, diving on those wicket ends there, and that's a used wicket from, I think, the county championship game earlier this month.
There's Parkinson again into Hamid, who's turning this one off his legs out towards square leg. There is a fielder running round on the rope, and they'll come back for 2, and that is 50 up for Notts, 50 for 3. Yes, elsewhere, remember, Notts looking to win today to make sure of a quarter-final place, but it could be helped by other results as well to get a home quarter-final maybe, as this is nudged away towards a vacant mid-wicket area, and they trot through for a single. But so far, both Worcestershire and Lancashire, who are in those 2nd and 3rd spots at start of play, have started well. Worcestershire are batting at Derbyshire. They're 48 for 1 in the 5th, as Parkinson is in to bowl to Lyndon James, again just nudging it up on the onside towards the circle, and that enables them to trot through for a very comfortable single, and it's 52 for 3 at the end of the power play. And Lancashire have started well as well, but they've started with the ball against Northamptonshire. Northamptonshire 43 for 2, which is something of a recovery. They were 27 for 2, but now 43 for 2 at the end of their power play overs. The other games that are of import to Notts today in the North Group: Birmingham already qualified, playing Durham, 54 for 2 in the 7th over. Here, Notts 52 for 3. And Colin Ackerman is going to come on. His spin, right arm over the wicket, and Lyndon James tries to chop him away square on the offside, and doesn't get much on it at all. It just drops down in front of him, and there's no run. Ackerman in again, and James this time tries the same shot but finds and at backward point, and so it's another dot ball.
These dot balls are precious, Colin, especially when Lyndon James and Hamid will be just looking to tick the scoreboard over, rebuild after losing 3 wickets.
Ackerman is in again. This is up in the air, but it's going to fall short to the man at deep backward square, who is fining again. The ball's following him around a little bit. And just the one for Lyndon James, who moves on to 12.
Bit of a heart and mouth moment. I thought that was going to carry all the way down to Michael Finan. Would have been disastrous if it had, but only a single.
3 wickets down, Notts already. Clark hails Montgomery back in the hutch as Ackerman bowls to Hamid, who drives him up towards long on, all along the ground. Single is taken.
Hamid just ticking it over really nicely. As I said to Dave, just it's what it needs right now. Just rotation of the strike. The bad ball will come. He put that away, but can't afford to lose wickets 4 and 5 in a situation like this.
Ackerman's into Lyndon James. He's beaten, but so too is the wicket-keeper, and that's going to run a long way. 2 fielders chasing after it down towards the pavilion. One just about... No, I don't think he has stopped it. Maybe he has. It's thrown in now. The umpires are waiting to see whether or not... And it is 4. The fielders couldn't quite catch it. Maybe just in contact with ball and rope at the same time.
It was 4 byes that, and that is a missed opportunity that from Peter Hanscom. He took a good catch earlier, but he's missed the stumping there. Notts have got away with one.
Just got through everybody, didn't it? Here's James, out! Cutting hard to backward point, and the catch is taken high at about shoulder height. It's Rishi Patel who takes the catch, and Lyndon James is gone for 12, and Notts have lost their 4th wicket at the end of the 7th over. 58 for 4. Good catch by Patel. Cutting hard, Lyndon James, but not wide enough of the fielder, and he has to go for 12.
Great reaction catch from Rishi Patel. Lyndon James absolutely walloped that, and Rishi Patel, who's in quite close trying to stop the single, has taken a very good catch high to his right, and why not celebrate like that? That's a very good catch. Well, the mis-stumping from Peter Hanscom has not cost them anything really in the end. Notts lose their 4th. Tom Moores walks to the crease, and well, Tom, we need an innings like you played on Friday night, please.
Yeah, Tom Moores was, I was going to say not saviour, he wasn't quite, because they managed to lose the game in the end, but without him they'd have had 0 hope. 73 he made the other night. He came in at number 5 with the score actually on 73 at that point for 3. Here he's coming in at 6 with Hazib Hamid above him in the order, but Notts in even more trouble at 58 for 4. And that's a very good start for Leicestershire here, who have had a shocking T20, but one thing you can guarantee is that when Leicestershire come to Trent Bridge, they're fired up for it in any circumstance. And here is Tom Scriven, the new bowler, and this is cut away just behind square on the offside by Hazib Hamid.
They won here last year, didn't they, Colin? The Foxes won here last year, so...
And they love nothing more, I think, than a win at Trent Bridge.
Nope. I remember sitting in the Fox Road stand listening to the Running Foxes song being sung way too many times for my liking that day.
Here's Scriven, fast bowler coming in from the pavilion end, just nudged away by Hamid on the offside, and fielded at point by Rishi Patel, and there's no run.
The one thing I would say is the wicket doesn't look as good as it did on Friday evening. It looks a little bit slower, so whether that's making life difficult for the Outlaws, I'm not sure.
Scriven into Hamid again, who plays this in the roll of the wrists out towards the mid-wicket area, and as so often is the case at this stage of a T20 innings, the onside field is scattered out to the boundary, so just nudge it up to the circle and you can get a comfortable run or 2. In this case it was 1, and it's 61 for 4. darker cloud overhead, but as I say, not low enough to be threatening at all. There's no rain in the forecast today. Scriven, right arm over the wicket, nudged back down the pitch to him by Moores. And another dot ball.
Well, Colin, you were here Friday night when Tom Moores walked to the crease. What did you think of the way that he played on Friday evening? I thought he had just such a very nice calculated way to his innings.
Yep, I'd agree with that. Here's Scriven. In again to Tom Moores, who's playing at this outside the off stump. Hamid comes halfway down and then has to go back. There's a shy at the stumps. Now they're going to get an overthrow because the shy missed. And Louis Kimber runs around to do the fielding in the end. So they do get a run at the end of all of that. Yeah, it was Colin Ackerman who threw at the stumps and missed. He thought when all around him were losing their heads a little bit, he was steady, and then just at the time when it looked as if knots even with him weren't going to get anywhere near enough, then he started to really score big towards the end of the innings, as this one is played up towards long on by Hamid, and they take a single. That's the last ball of the over. 8 have gone, 63 for 4. So he just produced that acceleration at the time, which, as we look back on it now, wasn't enough, but that wasn't due to him, that was due to the others around him falling. At the time it felt they've got a bit of momentum here because of what he gave to them.
Definitely, and you would think that very similar as Friday evening, an innings of that sort of stature is required today.
Kind of feels that's what they need again, yeah.
I don't think Notts need to go out there and try to score 10 and over from this sort of stage. They just need to keep themselves in the game for as long as possible. They want to at least have 160 because it's enough to bowl at.
Ackerman is in from the Radcliffe Road end, and this is a lovely cover drive and well placed as well by Hazib Hamid. It's just got away from Nick Welsh, who was running round the boundary to try desperately to dive and stop it from going over the rope, but it was wonderfully placed, and Welsh, despite that dive, just couldn't get to it, and it's 4 for Hamid, who's on to 14. Ackerman in again to Hamid, who's actually hit Tom Moores, the non-striking batsman, and it ricochets off to Tom Scriven to field. They still get a single.
Would have been awful if it just ricocheted off Tom Moores, goes straight to mid-wicket, and then well fielded. Tom, you've just saved a run there, but fortunately it didn't strike him too flush and just ricocheted out down to long on.
Ackerman's bringing a slip in here to Tom Moores. Don't suppose that'll last too many balls in T20 cricket. Just give Moores a little something to think about. Early stages of his innings. He's played this wide of extra cover, and they'll get a couple of runs as cover sweep comes round and does the fielding. It's Roman Walker, and good running and get back for 2.
Nicely played by Tom. Just beats extra cover and knows that there's always 2 on there as a sweeper. Fielder has to run around and throw that in, so it's really good. This is that passage of play now where Hamid and Moores will just look to push the boundary sweepers very hard.
Here's Ackerman. This is slightly down the leg side. It actually wraps Moores on the pads as he's trying to pull it away, and they run through for a leg bye.
He seems a bit upset about that. I think Tom Moores feels like that was a boundary ball that he's missed out on there. Not very happy. Yep. Hitting his bat in frustration.
Here's Ackerman. Bowling to Hazib Hamid, who's clipped this off his toes, but there is a man waiting for it to roll into his hands at mid-wicket on the rope, just inside from the rope. That's Louis Kimber, so just another single. A quiet spell in the game as Notts just try and consolidate a little bit after losing 4 fairly early wickets. 72 for 4. That's cut away on the offside again, and once more Roman Walker runs around the boundary to field, so Tom Moores can only get a single. End of the over, 73 for 4. 9 have gone, but Notts took 10 off that last over as they just rebuild a little bit after losing their top 4 inside the first 7 overs.
These two are doing a really nice job at just consolidating, pushing the boundary fielders hard, picking up ones all the time in the odd boundary. That's exactly what is required today, especially in the situation that they are in at this very moment in time. 73 for 4 after 9. Scriven is going to continue from the pavilion end. Has just had a hold up in players. Tom Moores is just readjusting his protective wear.
Latest from the test at Lords. Stokes and Broad are still going. Here is Scriven to continue, and this is played with a straight bat up towards mid-off by Moores, and there's no run. Stokes 154, Broad 11, England 299 for 6. Partnership is now worth 106, and England needs 72 more to win with those 4 wickets in hand. Here is Scriven. Blonde-haired figure running in from the far end and nudged off his pads by Moores and Roman Walkerfields. Just backward of square on the onside. Another single.
Nicely played that, isn't it, Colin? Just tickled off the hip, and you can often see those sort of deliveries, pull shot caught deep mid-wicket, very often.
It's a different kind of T20 cricket that these two are playing at the moment, and it's needed by Notts. You've mentioned it since they kind of came together. Here's Scriven into Hamid, who's tied up by this one as he tries to turn it away onto the leg side, and it's a dot ball. But you can, without being spectacular necessarily, you can just get 10 and over like they did in the last over by playing sensibly and getting 1s and 2s and just getting the scoreboard ticking over and re-establishing your team in the game.
Definitely. It's not all about hitting the 4s and the 6s. There comes a point in time where 1s and 2s are just as valuable.
Scriven into Hamid, and he's driven this into the ground, back past the bowler. It sort of bounced up over the bowler's head, but hitting it into the ground took a lot of the pace out of it. When he first hit it, I thought I was going to scream away for 4, but bounced and looped up, and it was fielded well inside the circle in the end, so they just get 1.
Lovely looking shot. Really nice looking shot. I was under the same impression. I thought that was going to race away.
75 for 4. A couple of balls left before we're at the halfway point. Again played neatly off his pads by Moores. We'll just get 1. As again it was played out towards the circles on the inner fielding ring. The onside field all out at the boundary. Through for 1. And now for the right-handed Hazeeb Hamid. The field changes around completely. He's hitting the pad here. I think it was pad. Yep, looks like it's going to be a leg by as it runs away in the end. Down to third, and they take a single. End of the over. Or take a single, take a leg by. End of the over. 77 for 4. So having talked about them getting the run rate going, they only went for 4 off that over. Scriven, good bowling, 2 overs, 0 for 8 so far from his 2. Notts at the halfway stage, having won the toss and chosen to bat, have lost their top 4. Clark, Hales, James, Montgomery, all back in the pavilion. 77 for 4 on BBC Radio Nottingham. Commentary continues with Carl van Vollenhoven and Dave Bracegirdle.
Thank you, Colin. It is another Colin Ackerman bowling to Hazeeb Hamid, who'll equal the score he got at New Road, Worcestershire, a couple of weeks ago. Moving on to 18 not out. Ackerman bowling from this. The Radcliffe Road end is fairly gentle off spin. He's got the white sunglasses on, or at least the frames are bright, brilliant white. Spears this one into the pads of Moores. Nice little montage around the ground at Grace Road as you walk round there, with Colin Montgomery's cheap 7 for a few years ago very carefully laid out. There's going to be runs here for Moores as he has a huge waft at one outside the off stump. It clearly kissed the shoulder or top portion of the bat and ran away for a much needed 4, Kyle.
It did indeed. Tom Moore's looking to go on the big slog sweep, targeting the famous Fox Road stand. It's gone nowhere near that, actually. It's been nicked away for 4, but 4 most important runs.
Moore's into double figures on 10. He'll add to that with a crushing blow into the offside. On to 11. Moore's has, going into this game, the best average of any of the Notts batters, averaging almost 37. He's had a number of not outs and played very nicely indeed. Now Hamid will play this on the leg side, will get his 19th run. 84 for 4 here on BBC Radio Nottingham at Trent Bridge, the final match in the group stages of this year's T20 Blast. Notts Outlaws against old foes, Leicestershire Foxes. Tom Moores picks this one up from Ackerman and helps it into the top tier of the Fox Road stand for 6. Lovely crisp bit of timing, highly effective, highly efficient, highly needed.
Beautiful. Little flick of the wrist by Tom Moores, and that's gone many a mile. Beautiful. We saw him try it and get 4 via an outside edge this time. Nothing but middle as that soared away into the Fox Road stand. Beautiful shot, Tom Moores. Notts are now 90 for 4.
Just gets them going again, as Colin mentioned. 10 from the couple of overs ago, then 4 from the last. There was 13 from that particular over. 90 for 4 after 11. This pair have added 32. Moores has 17. Hamid has 19. And you feel that Notts are just starting to press their foot to the floor. Here's Tom Scriven in from the pavilion end. Bowls hit back past him for 4 by Hamid. Shot of his innings so far by Asib Hamid.
That's a fantastic shot, Dave. We saw him, the over before, looked to punch it back down the ground. This time he's just gone straight back over the umpire's head, who fortunately got out the way in time, and that's a cracking shot by Hamid. I've been really impressed by this innings by Hamid. I think he's just showed great temperament. He's been fantastic. He moves on to 23 off 19, Notts 94 for 4, and they're starting to move here.
Scriven comes in again to bowl to Hamid. He's gone to pull this away and he's missed it and been bowled. So Hamid goes just after hitting that sparkling boundary. He's been bowled by Scriven for 23, and the Foxes get an important wicket at a crucial time, and Notts are now 94 for 5.
That one's just hurried through Hassan Hamid, looking to pull that away. I don't quite think it's got up as much as Hamid thought it would. It just rushed him, and middle stump has gone cartwheeling out of the ground there. Hamid innings comes to an end. Notts lose their 5th. They're 94 for 5. It's a shame because they were going really nicely there. And Marn Wasim, the new batter that walks to the crease.
Yeah, on his way to the middle. I'm sure people for years have been saying Asib Hamid and his natural game aren't suited to T20 cricket, but I'm sure his response to that would have been, well, how does anybody know? I've not been given the opportunity. Well, he's played a couple of nice innings, and unfortunately for Notts and for him, he's been sort of seen off around about the same time. 18 at New Road, 23 here, but they were useful runs that he put on together with Tom Moores, and Notts approaching 3 figures as Imad Wasim comes to the crease. He didn't hang around for long the other night on his 3rd debut for Notts. Made just 2 against Birmingham Bears. Looked a little rusty with the ball as well. Notts will be hoping, I guess in horse racing parlance, you say he'll be a little better for a gallop. Here's Scriven into the Pakistan international, and well, he ran this down here. I think always knew it was going to go all the way down to 3rd man, and he set off running. Tom Moores wasn't so sure. Initially told him to wait, but then did acknowledge, and Wasim is off the mark. 96 for 5. Kyle, you were with me at Grace Road. You may remember or you may not, but Scriven bowled very, very well there. Got 4 for 21 was the pick of the bowlers. Notts found him difficult to get away, and he's halfway through his 3rd over here. Figures of 1 for 13. He's doing another good job.
I think he's been fantastic. I thought he was brilliant at Grace Road. He's continued that this afternoon.
Moore's on 17, make that 18 as he punches this into the offside. Whilst Colin was commentating a couple of overs back, I did actually look up Finan and the scorecard from Grace Road, and Finan did actually get 4 catches out in the deep. which isn't done all that often. It just seemed every time Notts took the aerial route, Mikey Finan was underneath it. 96 for 5. Imad Wasim, the left-hander. They're both left-handers. Wasim pushes this into the offside. Remind listeners and Kyle as well, maybe, that night we saw one of the most extraordinary dismissals with Stephen Mullaney bowling to Colin Ackerman, who'd just come to the crease. He leathered it back towards Mullaney, who couldn't hang on to the Corton bowl, and it ricocheted back to him off the ribs of Ian Mulder, the non-striker. It's an extraordinary Corton bowl.
Most bizarre Corton bowl or dismissal I've ever seen in cricket.
Scriven bowls to Wasim. Again, he just drops it down and the bowler in his follow-through can field. That's excellent from Tom Scriven. It really is. Another over that really didn't do Notts any favours after Mead had got that first ball down the ground for 4. He was then dismissed. 96 for 5, just 6 runs from it, and the wicket.
Big news from Lords, Dave, because Ben Stokes is out for England for 155. He's been caught behind off Hazelwood. 155 he made. Stuart Broad is still there on 11. England now 301 for 7, and they still need 70 to win.
Cometh the hour. Stuart Broad still there. Here's Ackerman bowling to another left-hander. Tom Moores will drive this out square of the wicket on the offside and scamper back for 2. He's so quick between the stumps, Tom Moores. And he moves on to 20, 98 for 5. So Notts have got Calvin Harrison still to come, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Matt Carter and Jake Ball. Ackerman bowls, full toss, hit away for 4. That's lovely from Moores. That's what you do with a low wide full toss. Lovely shot.
Beautiful. Really, really lovely. Extra cover, no chance. He's found the gap. It's a beautiful shot. Wow, he's hit that hard. That goes clattering into the hover cover. That's positioned at deep extra cover to the left-hander. Tom Moore's moving along nicely, and Notts 102 for 5.
He's in the best little patch of form we've seen him in for quite some time, actually. Tom Moores, can he keep it going? He can't. He plays and misses outside the off stump. Hampscombe, he went to just try and nip off a bail there carefully and missed, and then he had another look and tried to do it again, as if he thought, oh crikey, if I'd got him then I might have got him out, as Moores pulls this for another 4. Well done, Tom Moores. Just pulled this one short of a length through mid-wicket. The 2 batters touch bats. You often see them touch gloves in the middle of the strip, but nice touch of the bats there. It was like a little bit of old-fashioned village Morris dancing between Moores and Imad Wasim. 106 for 5.
Really good by Tom Moores there. He's really quick on his feet. That wasn't that short, and Tom Moores just whacked that away to deep mid-wicket for 4.
The Foxes in their green strip with Ackerman. A little bit of bounce here, extra bounce taken by the Australian Hanscom behind the stumps. 1 ball left in this over, and there'll be 7 overs left. Can Notts really pile on the runs? Well, they can here. This is right up there amongst the best 2 or 3 shots we've seen today, as Moores drives it through the offside. That's a really good over. 14 from it. Tom Moores, with the bit between his teeth, is on to 32. Glorious extra cover drive.
Beautiful extra cover drive. He's got such quick hands as Tom Moores, and that is really something nice to watch. That flies away once again into the hover cover for 4 more. Tom Moores, really, really good over, and Notts needed that. They're 110 for 5 now.
Just a reminder, the significance of this: if Notts win, they will go through to the quarter-finals, but they will stay in 4th place unless either Worcestershire, who are away at Derbyshire, lose, or Lancashire, who are playing Northants at home, lose. There is something in it for the other 2 sides in those matches, Derbyshire and Northants, so you'd imagine they will be keenly competitive this afternoon, as will this one. Scriven in to bowl to Imad Wasim, who just dances down the track, gets nothing on it, and it goes through to the keeper. Right now at Derby, Worcestershire 117 for 1 in the 13th. In fact, they just lose a wicket as I speak. Jack Haynes has been dismissed for 44, so they're 117 for 2 in the 13th. And at Old Trafford, well, Northants are 89 for 5, and I'm afraid the big hitters Lynn and Willie have both gone there. Here, Imad Wasim, who's struggled to put bat on ball, does on this occasion, gets his second single from 5 balls faced, and that will take the score on to Nelson for the superstitious amongst you, including myself. 111 for 5.
Get your feet up.
They're up. They're up.
They are up,
They're
Dave. They are up. They're not touching the floor.
They're up.
That's usually me every time I sit on a chair. My feet don't touch the floor, so just a normal day, normal number for me.
Moores is back on strike. He's on 32. Scriven in his final over bowls, and Moores will just nudge it. He's got the field set deep on the side, and Moores gets another single, so you can put your feet down. Mixed blessings yesterday in the commentary box. I went and watched Cornton celebrate a victory, but you weren't so lucky in the old Notts Premier League, were you?
No, we lost yesterday.
That's Clifton in the Notts Premier.
Yeah, we caught an L yesterday, unfortunately.
112 for 5 here. Ahmad Wasim just can't get it away. Drives this to extra cover. There's no run. He's not allowed a lot of cricket since April, and both with bat and ball in the 2 outings. It certainly would appear that. Looks a little rusty, doesn't he? Just can't find his timing.
He really does seem like he's struggling for timing at the minute. He just hasn't got one out the middle and keeps picking outfielders. It tends to happen when you haven't had a lot of cricket and haven't scored many runs. You seem to hit fielders, not gaps.
Scriven, 2 balls left in his 4th over. Just does find a gap here. Gets Tom Moores back on strike. 113 for 5. Might have been the smart option, either to send Shaheen Shah Afridi or Calvin Harrison in ahead of him, let him have a couple of games, but they've gone with Ahmad Wasim, and of course he's been brought in to replace the injured Colin Munro. Not really didn't look for the overseas option just in case they get through to the knockouts, but of course if they lose to date they might not make the knockouts, as this is cut away by Moores. Probably going to get a couple of runs here. Mikey Cohen, or one of the many Mikey Cohens out there, seemingly. Whenever it goes into the deep, we always seem to say it's Mikey Cohen doing the fielding. Good bit of work. He's a spectacular fielder. Makes a very good stop, but they do come back for 2. Moore's on to 35, and it's 115 for 5 after 14 overs.
Another wicket at Lords. Ollie Robinson didn't last long. He's gone for 1. He faced 6 balls. England 302 for 8. Stuart Broad still in there. 11 not out, but they need 69 to win.
Josh Tong can bat. Jimmy Anderson can hold an end up, but you wonder who's going to get those 69. Will it be Stuart Broad?
He's going to do it again at Lords. He'll do it again at Lords, Dave. That's where he got the 169.
Yes, it's a long old time since we've been talking about that 169.
Yeah, it does seem like ages ago.
2010. Roman Walker back into the attack. He's another one with very decent figures at this stage of the innings. 2 overs, 1 for 11. You're listening to Radio Nottingham's coverage of the T20 blast from Trent Bridge. Sun just starting to peek through as Walker bowls are wide to begin with. And Notts gone to 116 for 5. If you're not looking for the cricket, you're after the normal Sunday afternoon programming. It's available on BBC Radio Nottingham's digital radio service, and also through your smart speaker. But here, this famous old ground, Notts bidding to reach their 12th quarter-final in 14 seasons. Roman Walker bowls. Moores will, rather it's Ahmad Wasim, will drive down the ground, down below us. Colin Ackerman doing the fielding. He's going to be leaving at the end of the season on his way up to Durham. 117 for 5.
Ahmad Wasim looking like he's just starting to find a bit of timing here, as he's thumped that one to long off.
Here is Roman Walker into Moores, and he's dragged this down from outside off, hammering it down into the ground in the middle of the strip, and Walker fields off his own bowling. Yes, you think back to that dramatic quarter-final in 2020 here, behind closed doors, of course, and it all finished in a tie. Notts needed 7 runs from the final over. There was a misfield from Dieter Klein, which allowed Samit Patel to get a single, to get a boundary. Then he got a single, as this is driven into the offside by Moores for 118 for 5. And there's a little bit of stalemate in the middle and back end of the over, and then the final ball Notts needed one to tie, and Imad Wazim, it was, at the crease, clipped it straight to Dieter Klein at mid-wicket, and he misfielded it, so they got home for the single. That meant the scores were tied, but Notts went through because they'd scored more runs than the Foxes in the 6-over power play at the start of the game.
Why did they not have a super over, Dave?
That's a very good question, Kyle. And there's Roman Walker to bowl to Imad Wazim, and this time he has middled one, but he's only going to get a single. He's punched it down the ground to Mikey Cohen. Yes, that just wasn't the first decider. It wasn't wickets, it wasn't the super over, it was the 6-over power play for each side, and I think Notts had got 48 runs if memory serves, and the Foxes had only got something like 26. 119 for 5. Moore's on 36, and he's got another boundary here behind square on the offside. Throwing the bat hard at this one, Tom Moore's, and he's just carried his form on from the other night into this innings. He was dropped early on against Birmingham Bears. None of that here. It's been some crisp stroke play, and he's rattled along to 40 from 24.
He has indeed. That one just sliced away over backward point, and that's trickled away to the boundary for 4. He's moved on to 40 from 24 balls here. Hasn't looked like he's played too many shots in anger either.
One of my favourite scores on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's on outside the off stump, and it goes through to the keeper. So at the end of the 15th over, that is the score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 123 for the loss of Clark for 7, Hales for 26, James for 12, Montgomery 0 and a Mead 23. Tom Moore's really rattled along in the last 5 overs on Friday evening, here to see if he can do it again this Sunday afternoon against the old foe, the Foxes. More from Carl van Vollenhoven, and then it'll be Colin Fray.
Parkinson coming back into the attack from the pavilion end. Here he'll be bowling what is going to be the 16th over to 2 left-handers. They'll have him to be targeting the longer side of the ground. He has Notts 123 for 5, or as Dave says, 1, 2, 3 for 5. That never ever seems not to make me giggle, Colin.
Here is Callum Parkinson. Imad Wazim waits and just nudges this one down to 3rd, and up inside the circle. The fielding's done by Finan, and they just take 1. What you were just saying about Tom Moore's is almost exactly what he did the other night, where you kind of look at the scoreboard and you think, oh, 40? And he's reached at this one outside leg stump, but flicks it away towards mid-wicket. Nice and safe, and pretty much all along the ground. Louis Kimber fields. It's another single.
It's funny you say that, because I hadn't looked up to the scoreboard. I looked up, thought, oh, Tom Moore's is on 41 already.
Yeah, there's Parkinson into Imad Wazim, who's leaning back on this, gives himself some room, chops it hard, and it's fielded on the point boundary by that's Nick Welsh out there. He's been out there most of the day. And it's good fielding, because they only got 1. Looked a very good shot when Imad Wazim struck it. 126 for 5. Parkinson in again to Moores. This is outside the stump, and Moores steps into it, leans into it, and hammers it over extra cover for 6 towards the tavern stand. Really nice shot from Tom Moores. Classy shot. Just see him stepping outside his off stump to go and reach it.
Wow. Tom Moores, just wow. That is beautiful. Inside out over extra cover for 6. That's one of my favourite shots. Lovely.
Here's Parkinson. And this time it's hooked the other way, or pulled the other way rather, out towards a wideish long on. And he'll run through for 2. Will Tom Moores. And so he's very quickly on the verge of that half century again. Be the second in 2 games. Under 49, 134 for 5. Here's Parkinson. Moores waits and cuts this down to Finan again, up inside the circle at 3rd, and so he'll have to wait, Tom Moores, because that's a dot ball. He quickly got the shout of no from Imad Wazim, because he was wanting to go and scamper for his 50th run, but it was never there. It was a good call from the non-striker's end. And that is the end of the 16th over. 134 for 5. It's another good one for Notts and for Tom Moores.
Exactly right. Nice over for the Outlaws, as They're just starting to build something here now. Another crucial partnership. I know Imad Wasim is only on 7, but he's playing a crucial role, staying with Tom Moores. You can't have wickets falling at both ends, makes Tom Moores' life very difficult. We are going to have Michael Finan reintroduced into the attack now. He will be bowling his 3rd over.
Yeah, bowled 2 of the first 4. Back in now to bowl to Imad Wasim. Stuart Broad's out in the test. Here's Finan. This is outside off stump, and a swing and a miss down on one knee from Wasim, and it goes through to the wicket keeper for a dot ball. Yes, Stuart Broad is gone for 11, England 302 for 9. And as I think we feared when Ben Stokes was out, test match is
unfortunately
is now heading to Australia, unless Josh Tongue and Jimmy Anderson can do something spectacular.
Can you imagine?
I'm trying to. Finan in again to Wasim, outside off stump. Wasim has a big swing at this, and it edges down to 3rd, and it's really well fielded on the circle. It was all along the ground, and a diving stop down to his right from Callum Parkinson, and there's no run.
We're very critical of the Foxes fielding at Grace Road, quite rightly so, to be honest. I think they've been pretty good this evening, bar the first ball of the game.
Very first ball, it looked as if it was going to be a repeat, didn't it?
It did. Switch back on.
He made up for that, Patel, with a very good catch to dismiss Lyndon James. Here's Finan again. It's outside off stump. It's almost dragged on, but from Tom Moores, it's going to go through off that inside edge and through for 4. About as fine as you can get, but that'll do. It'll take his 50. He holds his bat up to acknowledge the applause from all around Trent Bridge as he moves on to 53. Tom Moores, for the 2nd time in the space of 3 days. It is a very, very important innings that Tom Moores is playing for Notts.
Well batted Tom Moores, great knock. A knock that the Outlaws once again desperately needed. They needed a man to step up and take control of this innings, and so far that's exactly what he's done.
He's 30 balls, and this is a full toss, which he tries to hook away, but it's fielded at just backward square leg, inside the circle, or just about on the circle. Lewis Hill. Dot ball. 141 for 5. So the run rate just over 8.5 and over. Notts will feel that they need a decent last 3 overs. In comes Finan again. This is slapped away by Moores. Had a bit of width outside off stump, and he's crunched it away through extra cover for 4. Cracking shot again from Tom Moores. He's on to 57.
Don't bowl there, Michael Finan. We've seen Tom Moores hit now 3 superb cover drives. That is probably the best of the lot. That is fantastic. That's gone like a tracer bullet into the boundary rope. Wow, he looks good so far this evening as the Outlaws continue their charge here. They move to 145 for 5.
Moores on 57. Imad Wasim at the other end on 8. Here is Finan. In again, outside off stump again, and this time it's aerial. Has it got the distance? No, it hasn't.
Oh dear!
On the rope. It's a dolly of a drop, and Moores gets a life. It's Roman Walker underneath it, waiting to take the catch. About waist height, dropping into his hands, spilt it.
Oh, that's a sitter, Colin. That's an absolute sitter. Well, I did say that they've been good in the field, and that is really not very good at all. That could come back and cost them. Tom Moore's been batting nicely. That's just not very good.
Well, Birmingham dropped in the other night badly, and now this is Imad Wasim pulling it away the other way, but he is taken. That's straight to the fielder. I think it's Welch who has taken the catch at mid-wicket, and Imad Wasim is gone. Notts lose their 6th wicket. Imad goes for 8 from 14 balls, and Notts are 146 for 6.
Well, Imad Wasim just looking to target the small boundary again and hasn't got any of it. Found deep mid-wicket. out perfectly, has not had to move at all. He's taken a really nice catch there. As Finan, who would have been feeling a little bit aggrieved with the drop catch the ball before, picks up a wicket the next ball. They lose their sixth. They're 146 for 6.
Should just point out as well, just as a bit of a footnote, that while that ball was in the air from Tom Moores and he was being dropped by Roman Walker, he did run through towards this non-striker's end, and he was limping pretty heavily. And he's called for the physio now as Shaheen Shah Afridi comes out to the wicket. And there's a bit of concern here for Tom Moores as well, so he might have hurt his knee or somewhere around there. I don't know whether it was just a twist when he hit the shot, whether or not he... Can't quite think what happened. He didn't stumble or anything. There was none of that. He didn't get hit by a ball, did he?
No.
But whether he strained something, I don't know. He's just had a quick chat, but he's going to be okay to continue.
I think that's very important for Notts in this situation. They need Tom Moores to stay out there, and hopefully he hasn't done himself any trouble, and it's just more to check that it's nothing, could be nothing serious. So Parkinson to continue.
Here is Parkinson from the pavilion end, and Tom Moores has hammered him again out towards mid-wicket, but didn't quite get all of it this time. Oh, he's limping very heavily, is Tom Moores. This is not quite Nathan Lyon territory, but as he got to the far end, he was really appearing to struggle. This might be a question of stand and hit it across the ropes rather than running very much.
I agree.
Moores.
This does not look good. Tom Moores looks in a bit of discomfort here. Hopefully he doesn't have to do too much running between the wickets as Parkinson continues.
And he's going to get a wicket here because Shaheen Shah Afridi has come down the pitch to try and take on Parkinson, and he's stumped by Peter Hanscom. He was well out of his ground, and Afridi goes for naught off his first ball. Notts are 147 for 7 with the batsman that's in form and looking good limping very heavily as well. A bit like Notts at the moment. They are limping towards the quarterfinals, if indeed they're going to get there at all. Calvin Harrison is going to be the new man, 147 for 7.
Well, you do not need to do that, Shaheen Shah Afridi. I don't think that was what was required there. Fortunately, he has to go first ball. Calvin Harrison, more than capable of the bat. Is Calvin. Just needs to stay with Tom Moores here. Knock it around, give Tom the strike. Hopefully,
well, if he can.
If
Moores can run.
Exactly. That does make life a bit tricky. Now that you say that, does that mean that Calvin has got to come out and look to clear the ropes because Tom can't run between the wickets very well? It does make it difficult, and as we saw, you can't have a runner anymore.
147 for 7. Harrison just taking his guard. Callum Parkinson waiting to bowl from the pavilion end. Moores has 59. Harrison facing his first ball, just nudges it round the corner, and Moores looks a little bit freer this time. It's more of a jog rather than a sprint for that run. It's going to be interesting to see how Tom Moores is able to approach the rest of this innings, having batted so well again like he did the other night. He's on 59. Here's Parkinson, and it's just nudged up towards mid-wicket. They're going to go through for 2 though. That is good running, and he looks okay this time, does Tom Moores.
He does. Good running between the wickets. Looks quite quick. Doesn't look in too much discomfort, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to Tom Moores. There is obviously something that's playing at him a little bit.
Because the previous run he was really limping.
He was.
Limping.
He looked
really
really uncomfortable, didn't he?
And he's on strike again. He's on 61. Parkinson bowls to him, and he chops this one away into the ground and away up towards long off. And that's a trotted, gentle single for Moores. 62, 151 for 7. 2 overs to come after this final ball of the 18th. Callum Parkinson into Calvin Harrison, who just gets a nudge on that, almost bumps it back up the pitch, and Parkinson does his own fielding, and so it's a dot ball to end the 18th over. 151 for 7, Notts, after winning the toss and choosing to bat.
Correct. Tom Moore's the shining light so far in this afternoon's batting display. They'll still feel that with 2 overs left and Tom Moore's still at the crease. Potentially they could get up to 165, maybe one really big over, 170, and you'd think they'd be quite happy with that considering they lost 3 wickets in the power play. We're going to have Roman Walker to bowl the 19th over here from the Radcliffe Road end. Tom Moore's on strike.
It's going to be Walker's 4th and final over. Michael Finan still has 1 to bowl. Just use the 5 bowlers. Here is that was almost a baseball style knuckleball. It looked like it was going to be a full toss, then it just faded and dipped as it reached Tom Moore's, and he sent it down to fine leg for a single. That was strange, wasn't it?
As soon as he let that go, I thought, oh no, that's
like a beamer when it started.
I thought it was. I thought, oh, he's going to have one for the over here, no ball, 3 hits, and the rest of it. And well,
it's a proper sinker from
Walker. He's completely bamboozled Tom Moore's. Lucky to get away with that. Goes for 1.
A single. Here's Walker again. That's a bit more orthodox. In fact, it's quite short, and it's pulled around by Harrison out towards mid-wicket for another single to give Moores the strike back. Moore's looking far more comfortable now in his running, so I think that little scare is probably over. I hope he's going to be able to keep wicket okay. He does keep flexing his left knee. Yeah, Joe Clark the option, as Dave points out.
Hopefully we don't have a rerun of what happened at Grace Road where the Outlaws picked up a couple of injuries that evening.
This next one is hit away by Moores up towards long on. Didn't quite get hold of it. Out of the middle, and Louis Kimber is the fielder. 154 for 7, 9 balls to come. The other night, Notts, Friday night, 168. It wasn't enough against Birmingham, but Birmingham are a different prospect really, or have been in this competition, to Leicestershire. Get a few runs off these last 9 balls. I'll fancy their chances. This is short from Walker, and down leg side as well. It's called a wide, and 1 for the over.
Bit of a double whammy that, Colin.
Yeah. Didn't get much right with that delivery, did he?
No, he didn't. I think Calvin's done the right thing by letting that one go. I think he did think about having a flap at that and try to pick up a boundary, but you can only get yourself in trouble. Rather than re-bowl it, take the free run.
Yep, here comes that ball again from Walker, and this is nicely played. Cover drive from Harrison, but only 1 because Welsh is out where he's been the entire game, in front of the Fox Road stand. It's cover sweep to right-handed Harrison.
Walker's bowled well this afternoon. 1 for 24 off 3.4. He'll look to just finish off his spell nicely. Tom Moores will have other ideas.
Full toss, driven straight up the ground, and 4.
Beautiful.
Because long off was quite a long way round. He was quite wide, and it was hit pretty straight by Tom Moores, and that was 4. Have to admit, a slightly obscured view down here because of the advertising board just down in front of us, or the Notts livery. I kind of expected that to be rolling straight into the hands of a fielder, and
I also did.
He wasn't there.
It's a lovely shot by Tom Moores, though, wasn't it, Colin?
Yeah, striking the ball ever so well. 68 he's got now. Last ball of the 19th over. Walker is in. Full toss again, and that is towards the fielder. Oh, where's that gone? Has he taken it? I think
he has. He's taken
it. It's a good catch. He looked behind him, the fielder, as he took the catch. Louis Kimber slid in, took the catch at long on, a wideish long on, and then looked behind him as if to say, well, where's the ball gone? Well, it's in your hand. He's out. And it's a big wicket for Leicestershire. It's the end of another fine knock for Tom Moores. He's gone for 68. to add to his 73 the other night. Notts 160 for 8 at the end of the 19th over.
Walker picking up his second of the evening with one of the most bizarre catches I think I've seen. As Colin said, I thought he dropped it with the way he was looking behind him, but it was a good catch. I think he may have slipped over and he's taken it as he's fallen over. So a good catch. That's a really big wicket in the context of the game. Tom Moore's could have done a bit more damage in the last over, but not to be, as he goes for a very well played 68. Once again, a fantastic knock from Tom Moore's, and it brings Carter to the crease. Michael Finan will be bowling the last over of the 20 over game. Calvin Harrison on strike. What can they get to here, Colin? What would they be looking for, would you think? You were here on Friday night and 168 was not enough. I know, again, as you said, it was Birmingham's a different prospect, but 170 if you can.
I think they'll be looking to get 10 if they can, but two new batsmen, it's a bit of a tall order, isn't it? Here comes Finan, outside the off stump, slapped away by Harrison, but up towards long off, and there's just a single there for them this time. And it moves on to 161 for 8.
Notts made 165 for 8 at Grace Road, and as we all know, they did win that game. They won that game by 22 runs.
Here's Finan into Carter, swing and a miss, and a dot ball. So it could be that they've got enough on the board. As we've been saying, Leicestershire have never really pulled up too many trees in this year's competition. 2 wins against Durham. So Notts will still fancy their chances very much of winning the game and getting themselves to a quarter-final. Here's Finan again. Carter plays this uppishly, away just behind square on the offside. And goes through for just the 1 run. Harrison back onto strike on 4. 3 balls to come in the innings. 162 for 8. Clark 7. Hales 26. Lyndon James 12. Montgomery out for 0. Hazib Hamid 23. Imad Wasim 8. Shaheen Shah Afridi a first ball duck. Here is Finan. And again, well outside off stump. Harrison stretches. And then there's a misfield by Tom Scriven, but there's a backup man just behind him. And they're able to get through for 2 out on the point boundary.
Thank goodness Roman Walker was backing up, because that could have cost them 4 runs. That can be quite off-putting if the fielder in front of you goes down to pick it up and then misses it.
Misses it, yeah.
I know you are backing up the fielder, but when it is rolling like that, you don't often expect them to misfield it.
Here then is Finan, full toss. Harrison, that's gone way up in the air, and it might go safe. Fielder chasing after it, but it has gone safe as Lewis Hill turns and fields it on first bounce. Harrison gets back for 2, and it's 166 for 8.
Well, Harrison brought out the pitching wedge, stopped nicely, just plugged. It's gone over Lewis Hill at square leg and picked up 2 runs. Not 166 for 8 now.
Here comes the final ball, and Harrison pulls it away nicely through mid-wicket. Will it go for 4? It's a diving stop right on the rope, and so they're going to have to settle for 2 rather than 4. It's a nice shot from Calvin Harrison, and it means that Notts, with the fielding that stopped it going across the ropes, have to settle for 2. Harrison finishes on 10 with Matt Carter on 1, and Notts 168 for 8 from their 20 overs, and that's exactly the same score as they had here on Friday night against Birmingham Bears. 168. They were all out on Friday. They've only lost the 8 today. 168 for 8. Finan finishes with 3 for 39 from his 4 overs for Leicestershire. And I think Leicestershire will be, given the way their T20 campaign has gone, I think they'll be pretty happy to have restricted Notts. I went through the entire card in that last over and told you everybody's score except for Tom Moore's, because once again, like on Friday night, he was the shining light for Notts. He got 68 today. His 50 came in 30 balls. Picked up an injury on the way. We'll see whether or not he's going to be able to keep wicket. But another fine knock for him. 68 out of 168. And he's once again, Kyle, helped Notts to get a defendable total on the board.
Okay, so at the halfway stage, the Outlaws managed to put 168 runs on the board. Samit Patel joins me once again. Samit, used pitch, 168 for 8 at the end, setting the target of 169. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good total. I think that on a used pitch, like you said, with our 3 spinners, Shane up front, if we be smart, we've probably got enough. But we are going to have to bowl well. We know they've got some good players. We're going to have to take wickets up top just to put some pressure on their lower order. But if we do the basics right, I think we've got enough.
Power play, just looking there, 52 for 3. Halfway stage, 77 for 4. So obviously, you know, Leicester, they took some early wickets there. But let's just talk about Tom Moore's rebuilding job at the beginning. But then we saw kind of the explosiveness that he can bring. Another great innings, strike rate of 170, 68 runs. Great innings from Tom there.
Absolutely, what a knock. Under pressure, it was really good to see. And I know that he'd have gone in with a lot of confidence. We spoke pre-match, seen the pitch, and he played well the other night. I think that's a fantastic knock. It really is. The way he controlled his innings, he hit gaps to start with, and then he's got a lot of power, natural power. I know we got a full toss there. We'd be unlucky not to smack that at the ground, but that was a great knock, and he's got us up to a really working total.
Just one thing, obviously, we saw him kind of struggling a little bit with his knee. I'm not sure how that will affect his wicket keeping, etc. But how much will the lads be able to take from that first innings, watching how that pitch has evolved, bowlers especially, spinners, because we saw a lot, you know, from obviously Callum Parkinson, etc. You're a spinner. What do you kind of look for in that first innings? Are you always studying the pitch?
Obviously, yeah. I think as a spinner, you're going to see how the opposition spinners bowled, how we can bowl, and we can learn off the first innings. I'm sure on used pitch we're going to try and keep the stumps in play with a shorter edge one side from the Pavy end. I tend to, because I normally have to bowl that end, I have to tend to bowl wide, just so it's just not a free hit to hit towards the leg side. But they are hitting into the wind. In there, they're hitting a short side into the wind, so we're going to have to try and protect the short side, bowl wide. I presume Imad and Calvin may have to bowl this end and Carts the other end, but they've got all right-handers, so it works in our favour. We can even bowl Calvin from the Raddy Road end, and Imad will have to do the hard shift and our graph from this end. But as I said, we've got experience in the group, a lot of experience. We're going to use it, and hopefully we've got enough.
We saw on Friday night against the Bears how in an over it can really sort of, change the atmosphere here in Trent Bridge with Shaheen. We'd expect him to take the new ball straight away, wouldn't we? Few early wickets in that power play put pressure on the Leicestershire Foxes. We spoke about at the start of the game about scoreboard pressure. Combine that with early wickets, it can make a massive difference, can't it?
Absolutely. Shaheen up top, it's not always going to take 4 wickets in the over, don't expect that. But if he gets one in the first over, it's great. If he doesn't, it's also great. It's just, we know the fact what roles we've got to play. Scoreboard pressure's huge. And it's going to be a matter of who holds their nerve in the pressure situations, really. And I think that we've got enough in the tank to actually, they're bottom for a reason. We've just got to keep them down.
We mentioned that Alex Hales is obviously captain. How much will he have to adjust to obviously what's happening out there in the middle as well? He's he's vastly experienced in this format, World Cup winner in this format as well. But what will he be thinking now in the sense of rotating his bowlers and reacting to how Leicester come out?
Yeah, he's very experienced. We know that. Played a lot of games. He will be nervous though. He's never captained for us before or in franchise cricket, but he's got a lot of knowledge. We go to him when we're playing, what do you reckon, gut feel. But I presume he'll just rotate the bowlers as he sees fit, and hopefully it's good.
One person as well to mention is Jake Ball. Obviously he missed the start of the competition, but 14 wickets, second behind Shaheen. He'll be right up for this. We saw some passion from Bawley on Friday night. He'll love this sort of pressure and to take Outlaws home.
He's got some great skills, we know that. He's done it for years. Be ready for the challenge. It's a derby. There's a lot on the game. Knockout cricket. It's where your experience counts, and he's been there and done it. He's a great performer. He's got the skills, and hopefully he'll just get the job done.
Obviously, other games are going on. Lancashire, Worcestershire, Derbyshire. They're all, can have a factor in what we want to do. But it's down to us now, isn't it? There's 20 overs here. It's in our hands to go and win this game and make sure that this crowd go happy on a Sunday afternoon. Happy.
Absolutely. I think that no better feeling than knockout cricket quarter-final. Hopefully it's at home. It could be away, we don't know, but a knockout is a knockout. Anyone can win, but we've got to get this job done first.
All right, let's see what happens in this second innings. We'll hand you back to your BBC radio commentary team. 169 the target.
Going on because the two at the bottom of the order, Josh Tongue and Jimmy Anderson, are defying the Australians at the moment. Tongue has 9, Anderson has 2, and England are 315 for 9, needing still another 56 to win. But as we speak, it's still possible. It would be utterly extraordinary if they could pull it off and get to that 371 to win the test against Australia. It has been all sorts of drama all day long at Lord's, and it is continuing. Keep you right up to date here on BBC Radio Nottingham with how long those tail enders can keep out the Australians. But here at Trent Bridge, they are on their way back out. The Notts fielders coming out from the pavilion away at the far end, and the two Leicestershire opening bats as well. And that is Nick Welsh and Peter Hanscom. They are on their way out to the middle. They are chasing 169 to win. It would only be their third win. of this T20 campaign. They are very firmly at the bottom of the table, whereas, as we've been saying throughout the course of the afternoon, win for Notts today guarantees their place in the quarter-final. As things are shaping up at the moment, it looks very much as if it is going to be Somerset away on Friday for Notts. Now, things may change. It depends on, well, first of all, what happens here, and them getting the job done here against Leicestershire. It also depends on how Lancashire and Worcestershire do in their matches today, but they are in strong positions to maintain their places above Notts in the table. Right, we're just about set to go then here at Trent Bridge. It is Vian Mulder, actually, not Nick Welsh, who's come out with Peter Hanscom, but it is Hanscom who's going to face the first ball from Shaheen Shah Afridi, and that is chipped up and taken. First ball, Afridi's at it again. It's taken by Alex Hales at mid-on. It's as simple a catch as you could ever wish to see off the first ball from Shaheen Shah Afridi, who took 4 the other night in the first over. He's taken 1 here with the first ball, and Hanscom is gone. It's 0 for 1 after a ball.
Well, as soft as you like. Clipped up to mid-on, and you don't get easier catches than that. Shaheen Shah Afridi, well, I tell you what, you love bowling in the first over, don't you? Fantastic. We see the customary celebration. Dave Bracegirdle, on the other hand, is not very happy.
He is absolutely fuming at the moment.
See, as soon as Afridi's got that wicket, hit in his hand, and he's gone, oh no, we're going to have a repeat of this. We're going to have a repeat.
Yeah, Frey's off again, nicking all the wickets.
Oh, goodness. What a start, though. What a great start from Afridi. Exactly what you need. Brilliant. Rishi Patel, new man at the crease.
Yep. So, this is going to have the crowd right in it very early as Afridi runs in again from the far end, from the pavilion end, and this is just dug out of the block hole. And there's a little bit of a misfield by Imad Wasim, but they're only going to get 1. And Patel off the mark, and probably pretty happy to be. No, Patel's now facing.
He did walk halfway down and then walk back.
And walk back. So he didn't get a run.
So Patel ran 1, but Leicester still on no runs.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't run 1.
Also don't.
Afridi is in again to Patel, and he is going to run this time as he nudges it off his pads and down to deep backward square, where Lyndon James comes in and fields, and that is a run on the board. 1 for 1. So 3 balls to come in this first over, so if standards are to be maintained, he's going to get a wicket with each of these 3 balls.
He needs to. He needs to. He can't let us down now. You always got to keep bettering your performances, so we expect nothing else from Mr. Afridi. He's coming in into Vian Mulder.
Vian Mulder on strike for the first time, and this is nicely played. It's a lovely cover drive, and it's going to run away for 4, just wide of Calvin Harrison at extra cover, and no chance for any of the fielders to chase after that on a lightning fast outfield. Lovely shot from Vian Mulder. 5 for 1 Leicester.
Fantastic cricket shot, Vian Mulder. Beautiful, just a lovely old-fashioned cover drive. There's a little push and races away across the Trent Bridge. Hallowed turf here. Leicestershire pick up their first boundary. They're 5 for 1.
Slip in, Matt Carter at first slip, as in comes Afridi again, and this is squirting out. Can't really put it any other way. Off a leading edge, it goes out square. And probably he might have played it into his pads, and it ended up going square out onto the offside. And Haseeb Hameed fields, and there's no run.
That was really fired in there by Afridi. Fast bowlers really don't like getting driven for 4, do they? That was a lot quicker. That must have been about 5 mile an hour quicker than the previous ball.
Certainly seemed to be quicker than Vian Mulder was expecting anyway, but he's played this one nicely again through the covers. That's a lovely cover drive again. A little bit squarer this time, but raced away between Harrison and Hameed for another 4. And so just the 1 wicket this time for Shaheen Shah Afridi in the first over. It came off the first ball, but then two very nice shots from Vian Mulder mean that at the end of the first over, Leicestershire chasing 169 and 9 for 1.
Correct. Freedy's let us down there. Only one wicket this first over for him, but nicely bowled nonetheless, as Matthew Carter will be bowling the second over from the Radcliffe Road end. He'll be bowling to Rishi Patel.
At Lord's, Josh Tongue's got 16 now, Jimmy Anderson's on 2, and England are 322 for 9, needing another 49. Here's Matt Carter into Patel, who's down on one knee, and pulling him round towards deep backward square, and they'll go through for a comfortable single.
Can you imagine the scenes if Josh Tongue and Jimmy Anderson knock this off? Oh yeah. My goodness me.
Still feels a long way away, doesn't it? But
it does.
They're making a good fist of it anyway. Here's Carter, and this is played very fine off his legs by Vian Mulder, and it gets away from Shaheen Shah Afridi and runs away down towards the pavilion steps, and he's going to be 4 more. Nice shot again from Vian Mulder.
Well, Carter just getting a little too straight there to Vian Mulder and just tickles it away. He's got a nice bit of bat on that, and as you said a couple of times this afternoon, if it beats the fielder here at Trent Bridge, it's 4, no bother, no point running. Vian Mulder picks up his third boundary, he's 12 off 4 here.
Here's Carter again into Mulder, who's again paddling this one round to Montgomery down at deep backward square, and there's a single for him. 15 for 1. Rishi Patel on 2, playing this up towards mid-on where Wales fields, and it's a dot ball.
Nicely bowled that by Carter. Rishi Patel looking to give himself a little bit of room and hit that through the offside.
Here's Carter again, reverse sweep, hit on the pad, but he was well forward and it was going down, and there's no real appeal, but it is a dot ball.
Well, that will interest the not Outlaws spinners, because that looks like it has spun quite a bit there. It has also resulted in a change of the field.
Yep, they put Hazeeb Hamid out on the offside. This spins away down the leg side though from Carter, and it is a wide. 16 for 1. Here's Carter again. And this is nudged into that gap where Hazeeb Hamid has just been taken from, and that enables Rishi Patel to get his single, end of the over. 2 bowled, 17 for 1, 9 off the first, 8 off the second. And Mulder looking in good nick after the loss of Peter Hanscom with the first ball of the innings. Mulder has kind of restored Leicestershire's steady start.
He has indeed. He's played some cracking shots so far. 2 glorious cover drives and a nice deft touch that's got him away to 13 off 5. Not all desperately want to see the back of Rishi Patel and Vian Mulder here, 2 batsmen that can change the game in an instant, as Afridi to bowl his second.
And he comes from the pavilion end again, Shaheen Shah Afridi, and he's clubbed over the top of mid-on. Alex Hales up inside the circle and away for 4. That's a big hit from Rishi Patel, not in terms of it going miles out the ground for 6 or anything, but in terms of the attacking intent against Shaheen Shah Afridi.
It is a bit of a statement, isn't it, Colin? Just banged in, and then Rishi Patel just whacked that away over Alex Hales' head.
Here's Afridi in once more, and this is again, he's gone for the big hit, and he's not played that where he meant it to at all, and it's ended up going to behind square leg, and Lyndon James tries to dive and stop it going for 4, and he's unable to do so in front of the Fox Road stand. I'm sure that's where he meant it to go, but he'll take the 4 anyway.
Well, not pretty but effective. I think that's probably the best way to sum that up. Rishi Patel's looking to heave that away, and it's just off an inside edge, just gone past square leg for 4.
Shaheen Shah Afridi is in again, and he's backing away this time, Rishi Patel, and then can't reach it as Afridi bowls it down the offside, and Just has a little look over his shoulder a little bit. There's Afridi at the batsman.
I'll tell you what, he's not going to hang around, is he, Colin?
No.
Goodness me. First ball, great shot. Second ball, heave-ho. Third shot, give himself a bit of room and try carve it away. What have we got here?
See what he does next. Shaheen Shah Afridi bowls outside off stump. He's gone for the big heave-ho again and missed it. And Tom Moores can't take it. And it needs Matt Carter to run around behind him. It enables them to run through for a bye. And that is confirmation that Tom Moores is behind the stumps. Picked up a bit of an injury while he was batting. Not a good knock from him tonight. This afternoon rather, 68. But he is fit enough to don the gloves, be behind the stumps. 26 for 1 Leicestershire. Here's Afridi once more. Bowling to Mulder this time, who just dabs him down out under the offside. Montgomery fields and they go through for a single. The test match is over. Josh Tongue has been bowled by Mitchell Stark for 19, England's last wicket. They're all out for 327. So Australia win by 43 on a very dramatic day at Lord's. We'll be hearing about some of that for a long time. As here comes Shaheen Shah Afridi. And it's on the front foot here, just dabbed out again onto the offside by Rishi Patel for a single. And again, the opening ball of the innings apart, this is an assured start from Leicestershire. They're 28 for 1 after the first 3 overs.
Yep, been a very good start for Leicester. I'll be quite pleased with how they've started here. A lot of intent being shown by Rishi Patel and Vian Mulder. Even though Vian Mulder has a little bit more grace about him, just playing a couple of really nice cover drives. Rishi Patel, well, very dismissive, as Imran Wasim is going to be introduced into the attack. He'll be bowling from the Radcliffe Road end. He's going to be bowling to Rishi Patel. I always found that bowling spinners in the power play, a lot of teams do it nowadays, but spinner myself, it's not the nicest thing to do.
not the easiest job in the world, I fancy.
No.
Left arm round the wicket, and straight away he's thumped over mid-off over Alex Hale's head for 4 by Rishi Patel, who continues his very aggressive start to his innings. 4 more. Straight drive, lofted deliberately over Alex Hale's. And once, as we've been saying, once you get it away past the inner ring, it's going to go for 4. Yes, Imad Wasim once again. Again, he's down the pitch. This time he's edged it, and it's just going to go away from Hazib Hamid and ends up going square away through the point boundary for 4. But again, we've seen this from Rishi Patel already a couple of times in the early part of his innings, where he plays one nice shot and then his next one he really gets away with something he didn't mean.
Well, that's really nicely bowled by Wasim there. He slowed that down, dropped it a little bit shorter. He's got unlucky not to get a wicket there, I feel.
Again, he's down the pitch, and this is hit high. Now, has it got the distance? Fielder running after it is Calvin Harrison, who tries to take it, diving over his shoulder. Couldn't take it, then got up again after his first dive and stopped it from going for 4. And they've run 3. Really good effort from Calvin Harrison. He was running towards us. He was running towards the stand, so the ball was dropping over his shoulder towards the Radcliffe Road stand. He's had to dive forward as he's seen it out the top of his eyes. Couldn't take it, but then still had the presence of mind to get up as it's running away towards the boundary, and at least stops it from going for a 3rd consecutive 4. Vian Mulder on to strike, and he's off the back foot, just prodding this up towards extra cover, and they go through for a single. Rishi Patel back on strike. He's on 23. Mulder has 15. Leicestershire are 40 for 1. This has been a big over for them. Still inside the power play, still 2 power play overs to come after this one. Imad Wasim bowls again, and this is nudged almost defensively by Rishi Patel. That hasn't happened very often.
Is that Rishi Patel? Yeah, what they changed?
I think it is, yeah. What have you done with the real one?
I don't know.
Here's Imad Wasim once again. And again, just prodded this one almost circumspectly out towards long off, running in is Alex Hales. That's the end of the over. 41 for 1 after 4 overs.
Well, it's been a very helter-skelter first 4 overs for the Foxes. They've really come out with a lot of intent, and especially Rishi Patel, who's looking to play a lot of shots, and at the minute it's coming off. I do feel for Calvin Harrison, because I think not many people in this Notts team would have got anywhere near that, and I did have a look at him, and yeah, I know he has incredibly high standards for himself, and he will feel he did all the hard work, and he would have thought he would have got there, but goodness me, that would have been some catch if he took that. Yeah. That would have been one of the best catches I've ever seen. So we've now got a change in bowling here. Jake Ball into the attack to Rishi Patel.
Jake Ball replacing Shaheen Sharafridi from the pavilion end. Ball's to Patel, and he's pulled away over deep backward square for 4. Pretty flat, but always going over the head of Lyndon James, who's down in front of the Fox Road stand for 6. Did I say 4? Sorry. For 6. It was over Lyndon James's head and into the stand. And the maximum for Rishi Patel, who moves on to 30. Just really got hold of that and just helped it on its way.
Just felt as soon as he hit that, Lyndon may have been interested for a while.
Here's Ball again, and again he's pulled it round, this time along the pretty much along the ground. Second bounce, and it is fielded this time by Lyndon James, and they only get through for 1.
Well, Rishi Patel is making his intentions incredibly clear. 31 from 18 here. He has pretty much gone at every single ball except for the last 2 balls of the over before. So he's making Vian Mulder, who feels like hasn't been on strike for an age, life very easy.
Here's Jake Ball to Vian Mulder, who's just squared him up a little bit. The leading edge sends the ball back down the pitch, and it's a dot ball. Played 3 very nice shots early in the innings, but as you say, Kyle, he's not seen much of the strike since then. 18 balls faced by Rishi Patel, 8 by Vian Mulder. Here's Jake Ball again, in 2 Mulder. He's pulling him round through mid-wicket, and he bisects the fielders, and it'll go away for 4 for the Larwood and Vos stand. Just a few yards to the left of Hazib Hamid on the circle at mid-wicket, and no chance of Long On being able to run around and stop that, even though Alex Hales had a despairing try at it. It's another 4 for Mulder. He's on to 19. Leicestershire's good start continuing here, 52 for 1. Here's Jake Ball, and Mulder comes down the pitch and slaps him away through the covers for 4 more. That's a real classy shot from Vian Mulder, all along the ground, and from the moment it left his bat, that was going for another boundary. 56 for 1.
It just looks like they're just trying to outdo each other here. That's a really nice shot from Vian Mulder. He's run down the wicket and spanked that through the offside. Really, really nice. Foxes are off to an absolute fly here. 56 for 1.
Jake Ball again. Into Vian Mulder again. He's a pace outside the crease, and he's just dabbing this down towards backward point for a single. End of the over. Not a very good one from a Leicestershire point of view. They've taken 16 off that over from Jake Ball, and they're 57 for 1 at the end of 5 overs, still with another over of power play to come. Remember, they're chasing 169 to win and to effectively knock Notts out. Well, potentially they might not. Notts can still qualify if they lose here today, depending on the other results as well. So a defeat may not knock Notts out, but Leicestershire certainly going about it with good intent. Commentary continues now with Kyle and with Dave Bracegirdle.
As Matt Carter begins his 2nd over with a high loopy delivery that Mulder works out to deep mid-wicket, and they go through for 2 runs. 59 for 1. Not entirely sure what the Trent Bridge faithful would make of not scraping into the quarter-finals off the back of a defeat here, and losses also to Derbyshire and Northants today. This one down the leg side might have to be re-bowled, but it's going to be lots and lots and lots of runs here from this one, because it's gone for four somethings. In fact, no, must have got a bit of bat on that. So it's 4 runs. I guess that's the best possible result there, Kyle, because that could have been 5 wides and would need to re-bowl it, but it's just dragged down the leg side, and Mulder got the bottom of his bat on it.
It's just a bit of a help me on its way ball, isn't it?
61 for 1. Carter bowls, and this one just dropped on the leg side. Captain Hales doing the fielding. If you weren't with us before, Stephen Mullaney missing this game. A real shame for Mullaney. He bowled really well at Grace Road in the Notts victory there a couple of weeks ago, but congratulations to Hales, skipping the side for the first time. He won't want it to be in a losing attempt, but here's a reverse sweep for 6.
That's incredible. Wow.
Rishi Patel has helped this into the Fox Road stand with a switch hit, played it left-handed, and he's on to 37, 70 for 1, so already the Foxes bring their amount of runs required into double digits, 99 more required.
Well, the Foxes have got off to an absolute screamer here, thanks to Rishi Patel.
There's Carter in again. They've added 70. This is a catch! Oh, Alex Hales has taken a stunning catch, and Patel has to go. He has blasted this to wide-ish mid-on, and Alex Hales had no right to be anywhere near it. A diving full-length catch has sent back Patel, and that's as good as you get.
Well, that's incredible. Alex Hales, one-handed diving catch. He's just stuck out one of those big right mitts that he has, and that is one of the best catches I have ever seen. That is fantastic, and well, much needed. Rishi Patel is an incredibly dangerous player, as we've seen so far this evening, and it was going to take something special to see the back of him, and well, thank goodness, up step Alex Hales, the captain, and wow, that's just fantastic. Leicester 70 for 2.
Well, Notts needed
and we can
that.
breathe.
They did. Notts needed that. Colin Ackerman's on his way out to the middle. Did briefly mention it earlier. He was dismissed in one of the strangest ways you could ever imagine when the sides met a couple of weeks ago. He drilled the ball straight back to Stephen Mullaney, who missed the chance of an initial caught and bowled. Carter's in to bowl to him down the leg side, in fact into the pads of Ackerman. It burst through the hands of Mullaney, rebounded off the iron ribs of non-striker Vian Mulder, and just popped up for Mullaney to take the rebound. 70 for 2 at the end of the power play, so Leicestershire Foxes are well ahead of where Notts were at the same stage. They're also ahead of DLS, but they've lost Hanscom and their danger man Rishi Patel. Got 14 overs left and they require 99.
You just feel that was a very big wicket in the context of this game. Last over of the power play, they now can just spread the field. Calvin Harrison, the new man, into the attack. You feel without captain Stephen Mullaney, he has got a really big 4 overs to bowl here. Just look to squeeze here, build a little bit of pressure to the new man and stop the Foxes.
Good to see Calvin Harrison back in the side. He's bowling the 7th over here, and Vian Mulder has started the over with a boundary, working it through mid-wicket, crisply along the ground and over the rope, under the railings and into the first row of seats in the Larwood and Vos. So Harrison has gone for a boundary, taken 8 wickets in this season's competition, good economy rate of exactly 7 and over, but he's only played in about half the matches, which seems a bit of a shame. He bowls now, and this one's helped away by Mulder. I'll get a single. 75 for 2. If you weren't with us earlier, Notts posted 168 for 8, the exact same score they posted on Friday evening against Birmingham Bears, playing on the same wicket as well, so you'd imagine that the spinners should come to the fore. Already going into this innings, had 60 overs of cricket on this strip. There's Harrison with his leg spinners, bowled to Ackerman, who's off the mark with an easily gauged single. 76 for 2.
That ball that Calvin's just bowled there, that's the length he needs to look at bowling all the time. The last 2 balls prior to that to Vian Mulder probably a little bit short. Wicket looks a bit slower tonight than it did on Friday.
There is Harrison, and this is dropped on the leg side by Mulder for a single. I'm laughing because We've had the sun out. It's I don't know what time of day is it. What is it? 25 past 4. You've been calling it evening up until this point, and now we've gone into night, have we?
I don't know why I said that. Pardon me. I'm very sorry.
No, it's quite all right.
It's quite dark though.
It has got a little gloomy. Harrison bowls, and this one's chopped away to short third, fielded by Jake Ball. The other two matches to keep an eye on. Derbyshire already lost a couple of wickets. They're 30 for 2 after 4. Worcestershire made 222 for 5. That one's just along the A52 there. Derbyshire must win and Hope Knots don't to get through. Down the leg side, there's probably going to be a couple of runs here to Colin Ackerman. Comes back for that second. Lyndon James doing the field. He's got up in bits, holding his right knee. On Friday evening, I think he damaged his right knee as well, or was left holding it. Anyhow, it's the end of the over. 7 gone, 79 for 2 at the same stage. Notts had 58 runs on the board, but they lost 4 wickets by then.
They had, so in comparison, Leicester will be a lot happier than the Outlaws, way ahead. Man Wasim into the attack. Now they need to see the back of Veer Mulder. 37 from 17, he's seeing it really nicely this evening.
Wasim's first over went for 13. Here he is from the Radcliffe Road end. Bowls to Veer Mulder, the South African international. Plays it down the ground to Hales, who's taking both catches. The other match for Notts supporters to keep an eye on is at Old Trafford, where Northants were restricted to 138 for 7 in 20 overs. Seems a low score when you're not bowled out in 20 overs. This one is hit to deep mid-on. Joe Clark doing the fielding. 81 for 2. So I just wonder if that's played on a used wicket. Well, Lancashire have already lost a couple of wickets, but runs on the board. They're 43 for 2 after 6. Here is Imad Wasim bowling. Another single. 3 singles from the first 3 balls here. 82 for 2.
This has been good from Wasim. Just need to stop the flow of runs here. A couple of singles and precious dot balls required.
There is Wasim to Ackerman, leading edge to point. Mulder calls him through. The two South Africans have battered together on many, many occasions here. They'll have a good understanding, but quickly scampered single. Half an eye on the Blaze, who are playing Western Storm down at Bristol today in the Rachel Hayo Flint Trophy, as Wasim bowls and Mulder can't get this away. Blaze made 245 all out. Western Storm 181 for 5 in the 40th over. So 64 are required. Grace Ballinger 5 overs, none for 16 so far. Imad Wasim bowls, hit back to him. Has he caught that on the fall? Not quite. Don't think it's quite carried. Almost got into the Mitchell Stark realms of catching a cricket ball there low to the ground, but not quite. Very nearly. Mulder just chipping it back to the bowler, but 83 for 2 after 8. Mulder survives. He's on 39, Ackerman 5.
Great over from Wasim there. He's really varied his pace nicely there. Fired a couple in quite quick, which has skidded on, and then he slowed a couple down there, which looked like they've held and gripped in the surface. So really intelligent bowling. Need that this afternoon. Got it right now, Dave. Need that this afternoon against the Foxes after they've got off to a flyer. So very good. Wasim, that over only going for 4. 83 for 2 is Jake Ball comes back into the attack.
Don't think I've seen a flying fox. There's Jake Ball from the pavilion end. His first ever went for 16. Ackerman just punches this square of the wicket on the offside. Matthew Montgomery does the fielding. 85 for 2. Friday evening Ball took 3 for 33. His best analysis in this season's competition. He's taken 14 wickets. Missed the first 5 games, but he's been going at just a whisker over 9 and over. Picked up some crucial wickets, and he'll be looking to do the same here. 84 for 2. Past umpire Kettlebury. Bowls.
Oh no!
Dropped at backward point by Clark. Slapped away by Mulder. It went quickly to Joe Clark. He had it. He didn't have it. He had it. And then it spilled away from round about his left elbow area. Just couldn't quite cup it into his body, and just cling on for long enough and it dropped to the ground, and it remains 84 for 2. Mulder dropped on 39.
Well, you hope that doesn't come back and haunt them. That was a never easier backward point, but in terms of backward point catches, that was one of the easier ones.
Ball in again to Mulder. He'll drag this onto the leg side for a single. Looking dangerous. He's had a life, Mulder. Moved on to 40. Tom Moore's top scored for Notts with 68. Faced just 40 balls. He did appear to be going through the pain barrier just after he'd reached 50. Did look as if running was becoming a little bit difficult for him. Had to tweak something, but managed to carry on. Ackerman will chop this through the gap of Afridi and Clark. Shaheen Shah Afridi's after it. Might have to put a dive in. He can't. Just wonder if he was thinking about the upcoming series back in his homeland against New Zealand there, Shaheen Shah Afridi. Should have dived, shouldn't have dived, and by the time the thought had passed through his mind, it was over the ropes and away for 4, 89 for 2.
Colin Ackerman a little bit fortunate there, bottom edge, finding the gap between short third man and backward point. Goes away for 4.
Here comes ball. In again, bowls, and Ackerman late on this one. Through into the gloves of Moores. One or two people have asked me if Shaheen Shah Afridi would be available if Notts get into the knockout phase. As the club understand it, they've got a word of mouth that negotiations are underway, which would see Shaheen Shah Afridi sticking around until the end of the week, so he could play in a prospective quarter-final if Notts get through. But understand those dealings with the Pakistan Cricket Board aren't set in stone, as ball is in, chopped away to backward point through Joe Clark, who's having a horrible over. Misfield from Clark here. They're going to come back for 2. No, they're not, because Afridi did run round and cover for his mate and spear the ball in, and all in all that was a bit of an horrific over. The Foxes going along at 10 and over. They've got 90 for 2 after 9.
Well, Joe, that's not his best. He'll know that. You might want to hide from Jake Ball for an over or 2 and not catch his eye. Hopefully he'll get another opportunity to take a good catch and perform. He has Calvin Harrison, change of ends for him, as he'll be bowling to Ackerman. The Foxes are 90 for 2.
Harrison's opening over leaked 9 runs. Here is the leg spinner, bowls now and slapped away for a wicket. Mistimed by Ackerman, hit it straight to Lyndon James in the ring on the offside, and that was a little bit of a soft departure for Colin Ackerman. And Notts very, very pleased to see the back of him. 90 for 3 at the start of the 10th.
All part of Joe Clark's plan to misfield and get him on strike for Calvin. Maybe that's what he'll be saying, but that's a big wicket. Colin Ackerman, a dangerous player. Must be said, a very soft dismissal. Lyndon James takes a very easy catch at extra cover. Well bowled, Calvin. The Foxes lose their 3rd. And Notts are beginning that fight back.
Yeah, they've got Lewis Hill on his way out to the middle. He's that sort of nuggety, hard, gritty middle order player that as a teammate you absolutely love. As an opponent, you just want to get rid of him quickly. And he played in 5 matches this year in this competition. Lewis Hill averaging 31, top score of 54 not out. Notts would like to see the back of him. They'd dearly love to see the back of Mulder, because he's got to start. He is a dangerous player, Vian Mulder. Was dropped in that last over on 39. But Harrison making the breakthrough, so it wasn't too expensive in terms of the wicket. Just maybe they got the wrong man out, but nonetheless, Fox has reduced to 90 for 3. That's a good bit of fielding from Lyndon James to back up his catch as it was pushed into the offside. Nice stop, no run.
They're looking to squeeze the new batter here, long on, up at mid on here.
Harrison into bowl to Hill, who comes dancing down the track. Mulder gets halfway down and then finds himself running into Calvin Harrison. They apologise to each other, sort themselves out. Hill is the wicket keeper normally. We found him in the deep today with Hanscom in the side. Clark now does leave the ring and drop to long on. This is chopped to backward point. They will go through for a run this time. All over, Mulder has been desperate to get on strike, hasn't he? And now he does for the last 2 balls.
He has been desperate to get on strike, just looking to find any way possible. Obviously feels confident.
Here's a Harrison bowling to Vian Mulder. The 3rd time in the over it's hit to Lyndon James. They take a single, 92 for 3. Don't think it's going to rain, but we always use the Duckworth Lewis Stern calculations as something of a guide. At the end of the over, the Foxes needed to be ahead of 78. It's a wicket.
Yes.
Harrison gets his man, who moved across the stumps hill, trying to sweep it away fine, and the leg spinner just turned back enough just to knock over the leg stump. So Harrison beginning and ending the wicket with an over. He's got figures of 2 for 11, and the Foxes at the halfway stage are 92 for 4. Thoughts on where we are and that dismissal from Kyle van Vollenhoven, and then Colin Fray will pick up commentary.
Really good over from Calvin Harrison. Fantastic, really. 2 really big wickets there that have got Notts right back in the swing of things here. Really nicely bowling Lewis Hill round his legs. It's a really nice wicket for a leggy. I know that. It's always nice to bowl someone round their legs. Fox is 92 for 4 now, and Louis Kimber comes to the crease to join Vian Mulder.
Just sense, Carl, don't you, that is a big over bowled by Calvin Harrison for Notts. 2 runs off it, 2 wickets in it, and just at the right sort of time. You just kind of sense a momentum swing there a little bit. I mean, they still need Mulder out, clearly. That Mulder's the danger man, but that's a big over for Notts to get them right back in it.
Huge over. They needed that. Just puts a little bit more pressure on Mulder. Just he can't get out in this situation now, which might stop him playing the big shots for a while.
He's on strike to Imad Wasim, who's bowling from the pavilion end, and he's chopped this away out towards the cover boundary where Matt Montgomery fields. Elsewhere, it looks as if the results are continuing to go in Notts' favour, in that neither Derbyshire nor Northamptonshire look likely at this stage to win their matches, and therefore even defeat for Notts would leave them in the quarter-finals anyway, as Wasim bowls, and Kimber tries to turn him away onto the leg side, but gets himself all wrapped up, and it's a dot ball. Derbyshire 67 for 2 after 7 overs, but they need 223 to beat Worcester. There's Imad Wasim again, and this is played out again towards Montgomery out on the cover boundary for a single for Kimber. And Lancashire 66 for 2 after almost 9 overs. They're only chasing 139 to beat Northamptonshire. So it looks at this stage as if Northampton and Derbyshire are going to lose. So this is just prodded up towards mid-wicket by Mulder. And they take a single as Hazib Hamid runs round and fields.
Once again, seem just changing the pace at which he bowls, making very difficult to get lined up. Once he bowls a bit slower, tends to spin and stop in the wicket.
This is hoisted high over mid-wicket, but Hazim Hamid is running round the boundary and takes the catch. Magnificent catch. And Kimber is gone. Went for the 6 over mid-wicket and just got his angles wrong and gave Hazib Hamid a chance to run around and take it just inside the rope. A lot of ground for Hamid to make up, but he did so and then took the catch low down. And it's another wicket. And although the scoreboard is saying Vian Mulder's out, he's not. Louis Kimber is the man who's out. He's the man who's trudging back to the pavilion. Kimber is gone for 1, and it's 95 for 5.
I said Wasim was changing his pace and varying it really nicely. He's just tossed this one up a little bit, held it back a bit, and Louis Kimber thought that this was the one to take him on. Unfortunately, Wasima's done him in the flight there. Hamid's taken a really good running catch there. Besides Joe Clark's drop catch, they have been good in the field, and the momentum that Calvin Harrison started to change in the last over seems to continue here. Notts have picked up their 5th.
Yeah, Leicester have gone from 90 for 1 to 94 for 5. And that is good work from Notts, just at the right time, because at 90 for 1 you kind of felt that the game was just going, and Leicestershire were just going to cruise from there. Imad Wasim then into Nick Welsh, who's the new batsman. He's beaten him, and Moores takes it, but Welsh is in his ground, and so Imad Wasim, a cry of anguish almost, as he thought he might first of all have got an edge, and then he thought he might get a stumping. In the end he didn't. It's a dot ball though to end the over. 11 have gone, and then 95 for 5.
Well, at the same stage, Notts were 90 for 4, so not much in it. The Foxes with 5 runs more, but having lost 1 more wicket is quite even. They'll feel that with Viam Mulder still at the crease, there's still a chance. Calvin Harrison will look to rectify that last statement I've just made.
Yep, Mulder has 43 and he has the strike, and Calvin Harrison from the Radcliffe Road end. Right arm over, there's an appeal for LBW, quite a big one from Calvin Harrison, but umpire Ben Peveril is unmoved.
I don't think Viam Mulder's picked Calvin Harrison's googly there, by the way. I think that's just comebacks, really nicely bowled that by Calvin.
It's another dot. He's got the ball in his hand again, and this is down the leg side and sort of helped on its way down to fine leg. There's a shy at the stumps from Imad Wasim, and the bails are sort of whipped off either by the ball or by Tom Moores as it came into his gloves, but Welsh was home running towards the danger end. 96 for 5.
Once again, Linden getting a lot closer in at the batter, looking to make the single option that much harder.
Harrison bowls, it's prodded away out into the offside, into James Fields. No run. Good over again. So far from Calvin Harrison, only 3 balls bowled, so only halfway through it. A little change in the field as Imad Wasim comes up from fine leg into fairly straight mid-wicket, fairly short mid-wicket. In comes Harrison. This is pulled away, 1 bounce into the hands of Shaheen Shah Afridi, who fires it in. A couple of bounces into Tom Moores.
Umpire's not happy
because of the way he threw it in.
Richard Kettleborough is not very happy with Shaheen Shah Afridi there. Gave him the old teapot, hands on his hips. You know better, Mr. Afridi.
There's Harrison. This is nudged up towards Afridi again by Mulder for a single, and that Mr. Kettleborough has a look at him again and a little smile this time as it's thrown in a little bit more orthodox fashion by Shaheen Shah Afridi.
Oh, that's very, very good.
Here's Harrison again into Welsh, who's just turning this round towards Richard Kettleborough. Square leg, goes just backward of him in the end, and he's fielded by Matt Montgomery. End of the over. 12 have been bowled now, 99 for 5. No wicket in that over for Calvin Harrison, but Leicestershire restricted to just 4 off it. And Calvin Harrison is putting together a nice little spell here after he was pretty expensive in his first over, but he's been very good since then.
He has indeed. He's been brilliant. Once again, just squeezing, making runs very hard to come by. They're only 4 from that over once again, so Calvin's into his work. He's got 2 for 15 and 3 as Imad Wasim will be bowling his 4th and final of the afternoon.
Yep, 1 for 20 so far. Imad Wasim. Alex Hales, the Notts captain today, in the absence of Stephen Mullaney. As Wasim bowls to Nick Welsh, who just plays it up the pitch towards Hales. But, long on. No, that's Calvin Harrison, I beg his pardon. Hales is stood at extra cover just at the moment, but opting to stick with Imad Wasim and Calvin Harrison at the moment because the wickets are flowing and the runs aren't. As Mulder chops this away out towards Matt Montgomery on the point boundary for another single. 101 for 5. They need 169 to win, so 68 they need from 46. Not very much back in the game after it looked like Leicestershire might take it away from them. Welsh clips this next one up towards mid-wicket where Azib Hamid runs round to field, and it's another single.
Once again, what they've done really nicely is they've kept Vian Mulder quiet for the time being.
He's on 46 and he's facing Wasim, and he's got a bit of a leading edge up in the air, but it's going to fall wide of Shaheen Shah Afridi, who was the closest to it, trying to run round. It ended up just about at point is where it fell, and Shaheen trying to get round from backward point, just not able to quite get there. Gone through for a single to bring Welsh on to strike, and he's prodding this up to Hales at extra cover, and there's no run. Crowd applauding dot balls. They know how tight the game remains.
Crucial passage of play this. So we're seeing now changing the field, putting a 45 in, so happy if this ball goes for a single to protect the over.
Here is Wasim, and it's up in the air to exactly where he's just put that fielder, and the catch is taken by Matt Carter.
Bit of foreshadowing, Colin.
What a stunning piece of field placement that was from Imad Wasim, and Welsh is gone for 4, and Leicestershire are 103 for 6 at the end of the 13th over. They're collapsing all over the place from 90 for 1 to 103 for 6, and well bowled Imad Wasim and Calvin Harrison, because between them they have turned this match in Nott's favour.
Well, that's just brilliant. Really brilliant passage of play here from the Outlaws, just keeping calm and doing what they've done really well so far this entire Blast tournament, and that's control the middle overs. And even with our captain Stephen Mullaney, Calvin Harrison and Imad Wasim have done the job so far. Beautifully bowled. Imad Wasim has finished with figures of 2 for 24 off his 4 overs. He's been absolutely brilliant, I've thought, this evening, with his changing of the pace and firing it in one slow, and now fantastic field change and results in the wicket. So absolutely brilliant. The Foxes, though, on the other hand, will be very disappointed with this, having lost 4 very quick wickets. 103 for 6 here. Matthew Carter will be bowling.
Yeah, Matt Carter to replace Calvin Harrison, and first ball is pulled away by Mulder up towards Calvin Harrison at the mid-wicket boundary for a single. New batsman is Tom Scriven. Took a wicket earlier on, 1 for 19 from his 4 overs. Nott's made 168 for 8 in their 20, and Leicestershire were going along perfectly well, but they have found themselves in all sorts of trouble as Harrison runs in again to do the fielding.
Carter once again just slowing it up there in quite a lot of spin.
Here he's again into Mulder, played out onto the onside once more. Behind square this time for Montgomery to field. Another single. Run rate is getting up towards 10 and over now, so these singles are not quite happy with that, as long as there's no boundary on the end of the over. At one stage the run rate was around about 6 for Leicester. They were going so well, but this might get them 4 here as it's played out towards backward point, and Azib Hamid isn't going to be able to get all the way around there, and that is, from a Leicestershire point of view, a much needed boundary for Scriven. Just guided it away through backward point for 4. 110 for 6. Carter is in again, and this is nudged away off his hips out towards Calvin Harrison again. Mid-wicket for a single.
Liam Mulder feels like he's been in the 40s for absolute ages, Colin.
Yeah, been on 49 for a while, hasn't he? He's facing this next ball though, and that is going to be his 50. Again, nudged towards Calvin Harrison, who fields. Single is taken, 50 for Liam Mulder from 34 balls, but all those around him are falling, and Leicester are 112 for 6.
Good knock by Liam Mulder. Very well said, Colin, the man who stood up despite all the wickets falling on the other end. A really good knock of Liam Mulder. He's played some fantastic cricket shots. His 50's come off 34 deliveries, so it's come at quite a good rate. He is the Fox's hope. Jake Ball is into the attack now.
Elsewhere, Derbyshire are making a bit of a fist of it against Worcestershire in their game. Worcester 222 for 5 from their 20 overs. Derbyshire 96 for 2 at the halfway stage. And so they're having a bit of a go. Here is Jake Ball from the pavilion end into Mulder, who bottom edges this, I think, into the ground. Runs through to extra cover. Imad Wasim fields, and there's a single. So they need 127. Oh, they've just lost another wicket, actually. 106 for 3 is the latest update from Derbyshire. They need 117 from 9 overs. So they are still, you'd say, behind the 8 ball, but they're having a bit of a go. Lancashire 91 for 3 after 12 against Northants. Here's Ball, and a bit of pace here from Jake Ball, and Scriven can only play it out onto the offside for a dot ball. Lancashire 91 for 3 after 12, but only chasing 139 to win, so they need 48 from pretty much 8 overs, 7 wickets in hand. So Lancashire look as if they're going to beat Northamptonshire. Worcestershire still look as if they'll beat Derbyshire, but Derbyshire having a bit of a go, as I say. Here's Jake Ball in again to Scriven, who plays this down to backward point.
The crowd thought that was a catch.
Yeah, it wasn't, was it?
No, straight into the ground.
Yeah, played it into the ground. Crowd getting excited for Shaheen Shah Afridi at backward point, but it was never going to be a catch, even though he didn't take it. 113 for 6. Here's Ball in again, slower but picked and hammered away over mid-wicket into virtually the back row of the Larwood and Vaux stand.
I think it's been caught in the crowd, Colin.
Yeah, good crowd catch, but a magnificent hit. Not quite as big as Lyndon James on Friday night, who cleared the tavern and put it in the car park, but back row of that stand is a big hit from Scriven. Well, and big 6 for Leicestershire.
Mighty blow.
Here's Jake Ball again. And Scriven this time is just dabbing it down, and there's Joe Clark with a shy at the stumps, which misses, and Hazeem Hamid with some very good backing up right out on the circles. As Clark had a real shy at the stumps. From third inside the circle, but get through for 1. Mulder has 51, Scriven has 13. 120 for 6. Need another 49 from 31 balls. Here's Jake Ball in from the pavilion end. Bowls to Mulder, who plays it up towards long on, and just trots through for a single after it. Don't think he's entirely happy because he didn't really get hold of that. It's last ball of the over. Jake Ball 0 for 32 from his 3 overs so far. We've had 15 overs here at Trent Bridge of Leicestershire's reply. They're 121 for 6, chasing 169. The 48 from the last 30 balls. Notts, remember, at the moment it seems, whatever the result here, it seems they're on course for the quarter-finals, but they'll make certain with a win to see if they can get it. Commentary on BBC Radio Nottingham from Kyle van Vollenhoven and Dave Bracegirdle.
They'll definitely want to go into the quarter-finals with a win. build a little bit of momentum as Calvin Harrison is going to continue. Dave, what do you make of his bowling this evening?
3 overs, 2 for 15. Love to see him in the side, but his first ball of this over has been deposited into the Fox Road stand a couple of rows back. I don't think this one was taken cleanly in the crowd, but what a way to start the over by Vian Mulder, who's on 56, and we're just about neck and neck in most respects with where Notts were. Same stage at the start of the over. Notts were 121 for 5. Tom Moore's, of course, he got a half century. He anchored the latter part of the innings. Mulder doing the same here. Well, he's batted all the way through and he's pulled this one away for 4. So that's 10 off 2. And now skipper Hale's being asked a question for the first time. 131 for 6 means 38 more are required. And just down the A52, Wayne Madsen and Leos Deploy are together, and they require 100 off 8 overs. If anybody's going to get Derbyshire home, it would be those two, and that could spell warning signs for Notts.
Could indeed. Vian Mulder, lovely shot, follow up by Poole. What's Calvin got here?
Here is Harrison, bowls outside the off stump, took the pace off it. Mulder just drops it down a couple of strips away from the one they're playing on, takes the single, rotates the strike. 11 off the first 3 balls. The breeze rippling Mulder's shirt as he wanders down, does a bit of gardening and passes on a word of encouragement for his batting partner Scriven, who himself has moved on to 13 quite quickly from just 7 balls face. 132 for 6. Harrison under pressure, bowls to Scriven, who will get Mulder back on strike, just deflecting it away off his hips for a single. 14 off 4 at the start of this over. Duckworth Lewis has the Foxes just ahead. It's not going to rain, but it does give us a good guide as to where they are in the run chase. Just about 4 or 5 runs better off at this stage. Mulder back on strike on 63. Harrison bowls to the South African, chops this to backward point. There's no run there.
Big dot ball in the context of the game there, context of the over. Calvin will just want to get out this over with a dot or a single.
I don't think Mulder would mind taking a single, getting himself back onto strike. Harrison just steadies himself and then comes in past the umpire. It's pulled away and it's going to go for 4. I don't think it was picked up initially by Shaheen Shah Afridi. He was on his heels. I don't think he spotted that initially off the bat. He's got up hurting his back, and that might not be good news because he's still got 2 overs in hand, but that was a strong over for Vian Mulder and the Foxes. 17 coming from it. And Notts will once again turn to their talisman. Shaheen Shah Afridi have got a wicket with the first ball of the innings. Might need to come back and do a little bit of damage here. 137 for 6 after 16 overs. Means 32 are required from 4.
That was a really big over for the Foxes. Really good over, really bad over for the Outlaws. They'll need their talisman, Shaheen Shah Afridi, to take a wicket here. Just remind you, Vian Mulder was dropped by Joe Clark on 39. He's now on 67 of 41. And they'll really need to see the back of him as Scriven is also on strike, or he's on strike, pardon me. He's 14 off 8.
At Derby, Leos Deploy has been dismissed. 121 for 4 after 13. Derbyshire Falcons need 102. Seems as if Northants are going to lose, so there might be a way into the quarterfinals even if Notts lost this. I'm sure they wouldn't want to scrape through with 7 wins and 7 losses. I'm not sure a side has got out the North Group with just 14 points with 7 losses in the past. Afridi in and bowls outside the off stump, bowls quickly on this occasion to Scriven past the outside edge and through to the keeper.
That's well bowled by Afridi. Just angling across Scriven. Scriven's now walked down, done a bit of gardening, maybe to suggest that it's moved away or something off the wicket. I'm not quite sure it has, but nonetheless, a vital dot ball.
Afridi's now taken 21 wickets in this season's competition. The Notts record in a single campaign is 23 by Darren Patterson. Afridi bowls now, and a little push and run from Scriven to Joe Clark, who's not been at his best in the field. I think he'd be the first to admit. Put down a chance that was slapped hard to him by Mulder when he was on 39. Then in the same over, one went through his legs for runs. 138 for 6 is the current score. 31 required from 22 balls, and Mulder, I'm sure, would be understood if he'd just had a little glance towards the Larwood and Vos. Afridi bowls to him, and the pace on the ball is Mulder's friend as he opens the face, just runs it away on an angle of 45 degrees and takes another single. 139 for 6. What's the ploy here? Single a ball off Afridi and then try and get the runs at the other end?
I think so. I think Afridi not the man to take on. They've will definitely want to target the other bowlers. It will probably be Jake Ball. He has been a bit expensive this evening, so if it's in your area from Afridi, have a go. If not, one is required.
Scriven's on strike, gets a full toss, which he punches back, and I think would have been excused for expecting it to go for runs, but a wonderful stop by Afridi, who from somewhere has found a number 10 on his shirt. Or maybe it was the fleecy top that didn't have his name and number on earlier.
It's a great stop by Afridi. He's definitely stopped at 1, could have even been 2. He struck it really firmly, did Scriven.
Did indeed. There's Afridi, 2 balls left in this over. Good stuff from Afridi. There's going to be another single here. Clark will do the fielding and throws it to the non-striker's end, and that could have all just disastrously gone wrong because Afridi tried to stop it with his boot and it ran away from him, but Calvin Harrison was there backing up, and it's 140 for 6. 29 required from 19. I'd say this game is very much in the balance here right now.
It is. Could go either way. Afridi at the top of his mark. Mulder on strike. Last ball of the over.
Mulder might just look for a single. He's on 68. Will just, yes, it was a deliberate just push and run. Didn't attempt anything other than get himself back on strike there. So he's now got the highest score in the match, gone past Tom Moore's score. Mulder on 69. He began the competition in the middle order and has only found himself the last couple of matches going out as an opener, and it's looking a very good switch here by James Taylor and Alfonso Thomas, who are looking after Leicestershire Foxes at the moment. 141 for 6 after 17.
Carter to bowl the 18th over here. It's a very good over from Shaheen Shah Afridi. Really, really good. That only 4 runs coming from it, which makes the equation. The Foxes need 28 from 18. You would have thought that Carter would bowl this one, Afridi the next, and bowl the last.
Carter 3 overs for 30. The Foxes would enjoy 10 from this one. There's going to be runs from the first ball, or certainly 1 run behind square. They get a single. Not what Mulder was looking for, but he's gone on to 70. Matthew Montgomery doing the fielding. 142 for 6. Foxes would love nothing more than to give their local rivals a bloodied nose here for the 3rd year in a row. Carter bowls, and nice use of the feet from Scriven, gets himself down to the non-striker's end, and they're going to take an overthrow here. Matt Carter slipped over. We'll just keep an eye on Carter. I think he thrust out his left wrist to try and stop that, and the ball, I don't know if he's hurt himself in slipping over, landing on his arm, or trying to stop the powerful throw from Afridi. Either way, Big Matt Carter is being left to his own devices. It's his left wrist. That's the good news. The bad news is he's clearly in a little bit of pain here. Last thing that Alex Hales would want is to have to turn to a 6th bowler, be it Lyndon James or Matthew Montgomery, but Carter is going to continue. He's got 4 balls left. 144 for 6. Scriven has hit this up in the air. It's going to be a wicket. Imad Wasim is underneath it, and there is the wicket. Scriven goes. Earlier, Carter caught a simple catch off the bowling of Imad Wasim, and the roles have been reversed. 144 for 7.
That's a big wicket. Really nicely bowled by Carter. Bit slower, bit more top spin on it. Scriven's gone for the sweep, and he's got a top edge caught 45. Once again, it's a dot ball and a wicket. The Foxes losing their 7th now, and really nicely bowled by Carter. 144 for 7. They need 25 off 15 here, though.
And while Mulder's there, you'd say it's still very much a game in the balance. Roman Walker, he's no mug with the bat. He's on his way out to the middle at the county ground Derby. Derbyshire 144 for 4 in the 15th. They need 79 from 34 balls. Wayne Madsen is 63 not out, and it would very much seem to be Madsen or bust there. If Notts lost and Derbyshire won, Notts would miss out on the quarters, but Notts haven't secured the win themselves here yet, with 25 required from 15. Roman Walker will of course be on strike. Matt Carter's just getting a little bit of treatment to that left wrist, some magic spray being squirted on, I think, by Coo Bansal, the physio. Umpire Kettleborough's gone over to supervise. Two batters have had a chat. Everybody ready, but we haven't got a bowler.
Just looks from what I can see with the field, Imran Wasim has gone from 45 to mid-wicket, meaning that they feel that they need to just squeeze Roman Walker here, make that little flick off the pads a bit more difficult. Maybe try squeeze in a dot ball or possibly 2 before the end of the over, and then see Imran Wasim go back to 45 to protect the rest of the over.
Carter appears to be okay. He's going to come back to bowl. We haven't mentioned the Blaze for a while. What a thriller that is at Bristol. Western Storm 234 for 6. Need 12 off the final over of that match. The Blaze top of the group so far in the Rachel Hayo Flint Trophy. Western Storm need 12 off the final over. We'll keep you up to date with that one, as Carter does bowl a first ball to Roman Walker. I think that one just went on, bowled on the angle. No hint of vicious off spin from Matt Carter. Just the extra bit of bounce through into the gloves of Tom Moores, and now Lyndon James pushed out a little further. 2 balls left in the over, and again a play and a miss from Walker. This is good from Matt Carter. He's been injured in this over. He's picked up a wicket in this over, and now he's getting the applause from around about 9 or 10,000 just for bowling dot balls. 144 for 6. Carter in again to Walker. He's got bat on ball this time, and he's going to get a single, which in a way is the last thing the Foxes wanted, because it keeps Mulder at the non-strikers end. 145 for 7, and Matt Carter has finished with 2 for 34 from his 4.
Very good over, Matt Carter. Spoke about him squeezing a couple of dot balls to Roman Walker, making the equation that much more difficult. He's done that, and single off the last ball will certainly help. Shaheen Shah Afridi will be bowling the 19th here, with Roman Walker on strike, via Mulder just giving him a little bit of instruction on what to do. Pretty sure the instruction will be, you hit it and we'll run.
Exactly.
The equation here, 24 off 2 overs, 12 and over. Even I can do that math, and my math I think is worse than yours, Dave. So, simple equation. The man that Notts will not want to see on strike for hopefully 2 balls or so will be via Mulder, who's on 70.
24 required from 2 overs. Kyle's absolutely right. Afridi to bowl the 19th. Jake Ball with the 20th. Here is Afridi. Bowls, dug out, back to Afridi. It's hit by Roman Walker. Not entirely sure. Afridi is niggle free. He didn't half jar himself when he dived to the ground a couple of overs ago. 145 for 7. Mulder's at the non-striker's end. I think he was wishing he'd got Scully at this end to help him out, rather than Roman Walker, who's 1 from 4.
It's really well executed Yorker and good fielding. Another precious top ball. That pressure on Roman Walker now is just being turned up.
24 off 11. Afridi in. Bowls hit up in the air. High up in the air. Now then, can Alex Hales come round and take the catch? It's wonderfully, wonderfully held by the skipper. Wonderfully caught by Alex Hales, his 3rd of the day. And Roman Walker has to go. And it's another precious dot ball, of course, and Mulder must stay at the non-striker's end. A really good catch from Hales, and Notts get that little bit closer to the quarter-final. It's 145 for 8.
Well, Shaheen Shah Afridi here has just bowled a slower ball. Roman Walker, what you can understand with how quick Shaheen Shah Afridi is. It's played way too early. It's gone straight up in the air, and Alex Hales takes a good diving catch. And as you said there, the most important thing, Vian Mulder is still not on strike. Even though the new rules suggesting that even though they have crossed, Vian Mulder cannot be on strike. Michael Finan, the new batter to the crease here. Foxes now needing 24 off 10.
22nd wicket of the campaign for Shaheen Shah Afridi. The Nottinghamshire record is 23. He's got potentially 4 balls left here, and potentially a quarter-final to try and break Darren Patterson's record that stood since 2011. Either way, he's had a magnificent campaign, Afridi. 2 for 23 his figures here. Got Conor McCurr on the field as a sub at backward point. That's where Joe Clark was fielding.
I think Joe Clark's at third man.
Clark's down here. We'll sort out for you who's gone off. Might be Carter, who hurt his hand, of course. Here is Afridi bowls, and Mikey Finan has got off the mark first ball. That's going to bring Vian Mulder onto strike. So useful ball down the ground. 146 for 8. The Foxes require 23 from 9. We know Mulder can hit it many a mile. I'm not entirely sure he can do it off Shaheen Shah Afridi. We're going to find out.
It's going to be very interesting to see the plan here. Field set for wide Yorkers, really, from Shaheen Shah Afridi.
Interesting just to get the thoughts of Alex Hales, however this turns out, how he's coped and found captaincy. Afridi bowls, and, well, Vian Mulder with a predetermined plan, an ambitious predetermined plan to try and scoop Shaheen Shah Afridi. He's walked across his stumps. Afridi saw him go, still bowled at the batter, who was in no position to play it, and they go through for just a single. 147 for 8.
Once again, Afridi has bowled a superb over up till now. 2 balls remaining.
22 off 8. I'm sure Afridi's desperate to nail that Yorker. Finan here might just be instructed to swing or bust. Anything you get is a bonus. Afridi bowls. Oh, it was a Yorker. It just seemed to be the one that got Alex Davis on Friday night. The toe-crunching Yorker, maybe just outside leg stump, but got the benefit of the doubt on Friday evening. This time it is a leg by. 148 for 8. We are down to the last ball in the group stages to be bowled by Shaheen Shah Afridi. He's going to be bowling to Vian Mulder, who's on 71. The Blaze have won by 6 runs that match down at Bristol, so congratulations to the Trent Bridge-based women's team. Can the men's team get success? It's a full toss, and Mulder will get a single. Means he's going to set about the final over, trying to get 20 off Jake Ball. Well bowled, Shaheen Shah Afridi. 2 for 26. Once again, he's entertained and delivered for the Notts supporters, and the Foxes will begin the final over on 149 for 8. 19 for the tie, 20 for the win.
This is a very, very difficult ask. No, Vian Mulder is on 72 off 42, but 71, pardon me, off 42. It's a very tall order for Vian Mulder here.
It's a tall order for Derbyshire as well, because Wayne Madsen is out. Derbyshire, in fact, Derbyshire are now 170 for 7. They require 53 off 20 balls, and they've only got 3 wickets left. So it looks as if Worcestershire are going to win that. Lancashire have already defeated Northants, so Lancashire have secured their qualification in a home quarter-final. So that's gone for Notts. Very much looks one way or another as if Notts are going to be facing a trip to Taunton as Jake Ball starts the final over. Hang on, this is hit away for 6 into the offside. This one might not be done yet. 6 runs to Vian Mulder as Jake Ball banged it in halfway down a half tracker, got up round about the right shoulder, and Tom Moores, the keeper, has rushed all the way down to have a word with Jake Ball. Interesting that it's Moores who's run down to have a word with him rather than Alex Hales, the captain on the day. 155 for 8.
That is some shot by Vian Mulder, just by the way. He's backed away and cut that one over sweeper for 6, and has gone halfway up the Fox Road stand, which is now baked in sunlight.
I'm sure Jake Ball doesn't need
I agree.
Anything unless that has come from the dugout, because I think Shaheen Shah Afridi initially ran up to Moores and then Moores up to Ball. Here's Ball in, hit away again, low full toss onto the leg side. Finan will be urged to come back for 2. Joe Clark's throw is wide and wild, and they do get 2 from the second ball of the over. So the Foxes now require 12 from 4. 2 hits would do it. This is going to go very deep. 157 for 8. Notts might still need results from elsewhere to scrape into the quarter-finals. Foxes bidding to make it a hat-trick of wins over the last 3 years here. Jake Ball off his lengthy run, bowls, and Mulder again down the ground to Joe Clark. We know what they did last time. Finan's turned. Will it be a better throw this time? Not much better from Joe Clark, in truth, although to be fair to him on this particular occasion, I think they were always going to get 2, even if it had been the best throw in the world. They were going to come back for 2. So now I think Alex Hales has just got to have a little look here, and I would suggest you put somebody inside the ring. Maybe leave Clark out, but bring a mid-on in. He's got 4 in the ring on the offside. Looks as if he's going to stick with the same field. 10 required off 3. Mulder's on 82, 159 for 8. Ball bowls to Vian Mulder. Clips it down to long leg. Shaheen Shah Afridi's down there, and they're going to settle for 1. And Vian Mulder made sure he wasn't going to come back for 2, or his partner knew he wasn't going to come back for 2, because he slid to the ground and just couldn't get up. 160 for 8. And that means 9 are required from 2, and suddenly, dramatically, 1 delivery has changed the entire complexion of the over.
Fantastic fielding by Shaheen Shah Afridi. It's a massive result, and Vian Mulder is not on strike there, because all of a sudden they need 8 from 2. That's just 2 blows away, really. And
well, it's 9. Yeah, it's 9 from 2. 8 from 2 would tie it. So they've got to. The Foxes have got to get 2 here to be in a position to get something out of the game. But if they do that, they'd need 6 from the last ball. And of course, if it was a 2, Finan would be on strike for the last ball. Somehow he needs a 3 or a 4 or a 6 as Ball bowls to Finan, and he's only going to get 1, I think. But they might push for 2. Again, it's Joe Clark. He comes to field it, throws it to the far end to Tom Moores, and they do come back for 2. Finan has willingly run back and put himself into a position where he needs to hit the last ball for 6 to tie. 162 for 8, but Notts are heading to the quarter-finals, not in the most convincing of style, it has to be said. Somerset await. There's 1 ball left. Vian Mulder's gone down there and had a pep talk to Mikey Finan. Not entirely sure what his 6 hitting is like, but we're going to find out. He's 3 from 3.
come on, Jake.
A game that's gone to the very last ball. Notts posted 168 for 8. Here's Ball, last ball of the match to bowl to Finan, who's on 3, and he's not got any elevation on it. He's hit it down the ground. Again, it will be Joe Clark to do the fielding. They've come back for 2, and Notts are going to win by 4 runs to seal their passage into the quarter-final for the 14th time, the 12th time in 14 years. It's been scrappy. It's not been with any degree of supremacy over the Foxes. They've just managed to get there via the last ball of the match, but they have defeated Leicestershire Foxes, and they've won their 8th match of the campaign and will go through to face Somerset at Taunton next week.
They will indeed. Well, what a game. It was a great game, and Notts in the end get over the line. That will give them a lot of confidence going down to Taunton on Friday night. They'll be very pleased about that. Alex Hales, as skipper, has got his first win as well, so that's fantastic. Very good win, quarter-final bound.
Played his part, Hales, with 3 catches, 1 off the first ball of the innings. Wondered if Shaheen Shah Afridi was about to do something even more spectacular than he achieved on Friday night, but it wasn't to be. That was the only early success. Rishi Patel and Vian Mulder put 70 on for the second wicket, and then once Patel had gone for 37, it was all down to Mulder. He played terrifically well, was 83 not out at the end, did his level best. Leicestershire knew they were only playing for pride, but they leave here with an enormous amount of that, thanks to Vian Mulder. They've run Notts close, but it's Notts with the win.
Yeah, George,
Samit Patel just talking to the match referee, Mr. Boone. I don't know about you, mate, but I hate watching games like that nowadays. But the Outlaws win by 4, and that means that qualification has been secured. Friday night, down in Somerset. But we're there.
we're there. We've done it the hard way, but whoever we set out to start that, let's just try and get a quarter final and get to finals day. And as I said before, pre-match, it's all knockout cricket now. Whichever the best team will stand up will go through the finals day. And we've got a great squad. We've got great belief in that dressing room. It's a great win, that, because we've had to dig really deep there. We've got some injuries flying about. Hopefully we're all ready to go on Friday. We've got a bit of time to recover. It's going to be great. It's exciting, really. I think that it's exactly what the club needed, especially after last year. It's been really good.
91 for 1 at one point Leicester were, and then I think within the space of a couple of overs they went to 95 for 5. It just shows you that wickets, catches, just changes, doesn't it, straight away?
Absolutely. We knew we had a good score on a used pitch. I just think that, we had the spinners to to restrict them. We bowled really well in that middle phase. We said that the power play didn't go our way. Excellently led by Halsey. It was really, really good to see. It was top draw. I know the boys are happy there. They've done really, really well. But
Talking about the man, Mr.
Might as well come in.
Yes, no,
Yeah,
it's
you
fine,
might
mate.
as well stay in.
Come in,
It's all right, come in.
I was just saying to Sammy, I hate watching games like that nowadays. It's just...
Not the only one.
What was it like for you, captain, in such a crucial game where obviously we all knew what we needed to do, but how did you find it?
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever done it in any game of cricket, so it was a new experience to me. But we've got guys who know their roles and some really good cricketers. The bowlers knew the plans, and I thought we dragged it back so well. I think they played really well in the power play. I don't think we bowled particularly badly at all. I think they just got off to a really good start on a decent pitch, and then the way the spinners and everyone else contained in the middle kept taking wickets at crucial times was really impressive. So I think it was an all-round good team performance.
Me and Sammy were just saying 91 for 1, and then Leicester 2 overs later 95 for 5. Was that just a crucial part? And you said the spinners, Calvin and obviously Imad, just wickets, catches, they can really change the match, can't they?
Definitely, yeah. It was outstanding the way those two bowled. Handy, they both turn it away from the bat, which is always nice in T20 cricket, and they bowled really well in the partnership through the middle. I just think everyone chipped in at different times. Jake had to bowl some really difficult overs. The 5th over, always bowling to the short side, and then the 20th over. So he put a really good stint in. I just think, I think everyone did well.
And let's talk about his catch. Sammy was just saying that he would have caught that every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. So
he'd have got there with 2 hands as well.
Yeah, of course he would have. I don't think he would have got there at all.
I made that look difficult.
I would not be getting there, I don't think.
Just talk to that catch, because it came quite quickly as we see Stewart's just walking in front of us, but there we go.
It's all right. We are miles away from the camera.
I know, yeah. Shall we just all move a little bit forward?
On,
Sammy, come on, just talk to us about that catch, because obviously it came quite quickly, but you're a tall bloke, just an amazing catch and at a pivotal point as well.
Yeah, it's one of those where I saw it the whole way, saw it clearly, and you just stick a hand out and hope it sticks. And fortunately, that was a big moment in the game, like you said, and pleased that it stuck at that time.
Somerset on Friday.
Is that what it is? Is that
Somerset
confirmed?
on Friday.
Yeah. There we go.
What do you think about that? I mean, they've played well, obviously, top of the South group.
Do you want to get in here, Sammy? Go on.
I'll tell you what, let's get
away. We need another microphone.
I don't mind going away quarter-final. All the pressure will be on them. There'll be nothing on us. They're expected to win, but...
Well, we're on TV here.
I'm on TV.
Exactly.
But we've got a great squad. As I said before, we've got a lot of experience in that dressing room. As I say, we've got some injuries flying about, but hopefully we're all fit, touch wood. And hopefully we can go down there with full of confidence. That should really... It's difficult playing cricket down there. They're a good team on their own patch. They play cricket in a different way. We'll have to adapt to conditions down there as best we can.
For you, just and then I'll let you go, obviously. How do you feel you've been this season? Obviously, with the bat, you've had some starts, some other starts been a little bit difficult. 3rd at the moment with the Outlaws. How do you feel? Because Sammy actually had you down today to go big.
I felt good. I felt really good. Yeah, it was one of those days. I felt really on and just slapped a full toss straight to cover. So it's kind of disappointed the way I got out. And yeah, I think I've kind of struggled throughout the back end of this tournament. Just haven't found my rhythm. We've played on some tricky pitches that have been tough in the power play. It's been swinging and seaming around, which is kind of unusual what you get in T20 in England. So hasn't quite happened for me this year, but we're through to the quarterfinals and this is where it counts now. So hopefully I can turn up for the big occasions.
I'm sure you will, mate. I'll let you go, and I'll talk to this fella a little bit more. One and one. Come on, Wells can do it.
Any old mug can do it.
Maybe not go that far, Buzz. Yeah. Right, let's just wrap this up. I mean, 1 in 1 as a captain, a lot of pressure on everybody today, but we've made it. We're there Friday. How about yourself? Obviously, there's some other players a little bit niggly. This win will do a load of good for confidence in everybody, and everybody loves a bus trip.
Everyone loves a bus trip, but no one loves to travel all the way down to Somerset and lose. So I reckon that we're going to go down with full of confidence. And I said that performance today. Some guys have got some runs. Tommy Moore's again. We've just got to carry them. We said it was all knockout cricket from now on. 4 games we had to go. Now we're down to 3. Beat the Somerset boys down there, and we'll go to 2. And finals day is finals day. So we're just going to have to play well. We know, as I said before, Somerset play a good brand of cricket on their own patch. Whether we test them or not is going to be a different story, but we've definitely got the players in that group to go all the way. Bat, bowl and field. So we saw catches, his catch was fantastic. We're going to have to bring our A game for Taunton next week.
Well, I can safely say it's been an absolute pleasure having you for these last 2 games, but I don't take it personally, but I hope I never see you again on the stream.
I hope so as well.
That means that you're playing, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I will hopefully back playing. I don't think the physio will want it, but I'll be pushing him this week to get down on that block.
And I have no doubt that you will be doing that.
I want his play today, actually.
And remember, eat your carrots. Thank you very much for Mr. Patel for joining us for these last 2 games. And really, we said at the start of the day that it was all about the Outlaws getting a victory, and they managed to get it. They probably put you through the ringer, but the main thing is they won by 4 runs. And the next thing is Somerset on Friday. That is the quarter-final. But from everybody here at Trent Bridge Live, thank you very much for joining us over this T20 period. It's been amazing, and we look forward to you joining us in the County Championship when that returns later on this month. But get behind the boys on Friday night. It's quarter-final time. The Outlaws are through. Come on!